Hey, let's start the show.
It's May 3rd, 2012. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. We're back with the old theme. The wub-wubs are gone.
I'm glad that we stuck with that idea to run the dubstep theme for one more week so that we could freak people out into thinking that it was actually the new theme music.
Did you guys get angry letters about that? I got like angry Twitter messages from people who really don't like dubstep a lot.
A lot of people who still say they don't know what dubstep is.
Really?
I don't think that's cool anymore to say you don't know what dubstep is.
Yeah, people should know.
Just say you know what it is and you don't like it.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's apparently the acceptable answer.
That's the right place.
I'm aware of it and I don't approve of it.
Well, I think dubstep for our generation now is as rap music was for our parents. Do you not hear anything, Gary?
No. My cans are dead, man.
Headphones? Are you plugged in? That's a long cord. Huh? That's weird.
Why? No. Yeah. Why is dubstep rap?
There you go.
Because something new. It's a new kind of music that has evolved and come out prior to the late 70s, early 80s. That was something our parents had never heard before.
Every generation. I mean, maybe it's just us being old.
I think dubstep is not going to have the lasting influence.
You never know.
Rap.
I'm sure they said that about rap in like 1988. Maybe those headphones are bad. There's another pair right over there, Gary.
Yeah, I'm going to grab another pair.
Yeah, grab
of headphones.
Grab a fresh set of cans.
Hold on.
Just unplug and take it with you. So what's going on this week with you, Norm? How are you doing? Avengers this weekend.
Avengers ×3.
You're going to see it 3 times?
I already have tickets to see it 3 times. It's one of those things where I commit to see it 3 times. If it's terrible, and there's not a very high chance that it will be terrible, then I'll just watch the one time and suck up the cost.
What, so you're not going to come with us on Saturday?
If it's terrible.
Thanks, man.
Also, I have your tickets.
Better, Gary? How does that sound?
That's better.
Hearing? Okay,
yep.
Good. So we should toss those headphones.
There's very little chance of this movie being terrible, though, based on everything we've heard so far. Right?
Yeah, if it's terrible, it's the world's greatest conspiracy.
I'm still so annoyed that I still need to see Captain America and Thor to feel like I'm fully caught up.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for me to do that. It's not easy to rent them online.
At all.
Someone flipped a switch so that like on, on the various different online services, you now have to buy the movies. So I think that's a very cynical move to try and gouge the fans.
Right. It's not like
purchasing the movies to fill in any gaps that they
never
may still
rentable.
Have.
You could rent them on Amazon and on Apple TV before about a month ago.
I'm gonna do a last. There's some weird, like I think YouTube actually has a system now where you can rent movies, right? I think you can get Captain America that way.
Okay.
But I still have to fill in the Thor blank. And I don't know where to get, because again, I'm not willing to just buy a movie blind just to fill in this gap.
How much is renting a movie? It's $5.
You could just go to Wikipedia and read the plot summaries and be done. Be in and out in like 5 minutes.
No, I know people who do that. It's terrible.
It's a bad. I've done that with video games before.
Let's have a random conversation about that. I know people who who don't like intense movies. They don't like horror movies, and so they go to the Wikipedia.
Are you talking about Wes?
No, not Wes.
Okay,
Wes is fine. Who read the Wikipedia description of movies just so they can get a sense of what they're missing out on, especially if movies have plot twists, like, for example, Saw.
I'll do that sometimes. If it's a movie I don't care enough to see, but I'm intrigued about a plot twist or whatever, I'll just read up.
Well, if you don't care enough to see it, it's not because you're afraid of being too tense. Now, take this a step further. The person I know who does this, not only will they read the Wikipedia page, and I can understand if you don't want to watch a movie, you don't care to see, but you still want to have a conversation about it. But they also read the MPAA ratings.
Now that's weird.
To find out exactly what the scenes are, how many scenes of intensity or drug use or adult content.
I don't take it to that level.
That's a bit much.
That's kind of nuts.
I did that the other day because I saw that Myst 5 was like $3 on Steam or something. And I thought, man, this wraps up the Myst saga, which began in, 1992 or something, 95? So maybe I should play.
I remember as I fell into the fissure.
Maybe
I still love that. I was still one of the great video game openings.
Yeah, well, like
perhaps the ending is not yet written.
I want to know why the puzzle island existed and why all the people were there.
It was lost before there was Lost.
Right, exactly. But there's three. I didn't realize there were three games.
Really, it was a phenomenon of a relative scale. Remember, Myst was
it was the first
it was
big
huge back in
computer
the day.
game. Yeah, what it was like Doom and Myst were the two things people talked about. So I thought, I'm gonna maybe I'll play these other three games, Myst 3, 4, and 5, and find out what happens in the Tale of Uru. And then I just decided I'd go to the Wikipedia page and kind of get the summary.
As much as those games were impressive for what they were at the time, I always found those worlds too empty.
They were impressive because it was rendered,
Oh yeah, it was all part of the advent of CD-ROM, right? When that made all these new things possible.
Media.
And they were all ray traced or something, right? It was some crazy rendering thing that could never be done real time, and now you can play it on your phone.
But they did it in real time. There was Real Myst.
No, and now Real Myst runs on your iPad. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there we are, full circle. I don't recommend pages.
To go back to Gary's point, I don't recommend reading just the Wikipedia pages or the plot descriptions for either.
No, I want to see the movies.
You should watch the movies.
I'm just annoyed. Maybe this is Marvel punishing me for not being enough of a fan for seeing the movies when they were in theaters.
So I saw Thor in theaters, and then I didn't see Captain America in theaters, and I don't really regret either of those because neither of them were as good as, say, your Iron Man or your Iron Man, I guess, which is the one that I really like of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, it's the best one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good movie. It's not just a good superhero movie.
Yeah.
So, Galaxy S3 announced this morning.
Okay.
Yep, the Samsung's Galaxy S3.
So this will sell millions, right? Because it's the sequel to a phone that has been hugely successful.
They're going to sell, no matter what they do with this phone, they're going to sell a lot of them. It is a big, big phone. It's almost 5 inches. I think it's a 4.8-inch screen. It's the Super AMOLED that they use on everything. 720p screen.
Is this the top-selling Android phone? The Galaxy S?
I don't know. So. They put it in
the Galaxy series probably.
I actually think the Galaxy S2 probably was. It's one of the that's where Samsung has market share. Be? Yeah, it's HTC's not selling that many phones.
Droid?
No, they're not selling that many.
It used to be the Droid. It used to be the Droid 1.
Samsung. If you look worldwide, it's got to be Samsung.
Incredible.
But that was 2-3 years ago. 2 years ago at this point.
I got to tell you,
it was before, and then it was the
Galaxy S. Yeah, I think Galaxy S probably.
Just anecdotally, my anecdotal experience walking around in the outside world, when on the rare occasions I actually do that, it does, what I see now in people's hands, it does bear out, kind of the market share pie graphs. You see a lot of iPhones, but you really do see a lot of Android phones out there in the wild these days.
You do, but we're in San Francisco too.
And Windows phones.
Yeah. Not that many Windows phones.
Not seen as many as that.
I haven't. Well, maybe they stand out more.
Well, it's often difficult to tell what someone's got. If it's not an iPhone, obviously the case is so distinctive, immediately.
Right, you can see the metal band.
But when it's something else, you actually sometimes have to see the screen before you know if it's an Android or a Windows phone.
It's because, Samsung and HTC and Motorola make all those phones for different OSs. So a Samsung Focus and a Samsung Galaxy S kind of look the same.
No, not at all.
They have similar.
The second gen Focus did maybe.
I can't tell the difference. I mean, they're these different variations of these generic phone cases.
Norm and I saw an Android tablet in the wild at SCAA.
Oh, those are rare.
Yeah, no, I'd never seen that before.
I've seen lots of Kindles.
Or whatever. Yeah, you see a ton of Kindles.
The only time you ever see non-iPad tablets these days are in TV commercials, or they want to show someone using a tablet, but it can't obviously be an iPad. I don't see. I
see a fair amount. You don't ride the bus much. I see a fair amount of Kindle Fires on.
Well, I think people are more comfortable reading with a Kindle Fire or a Nook Color.
I've never seen a Nook
color. Oh, that's the story that I remember is Microsoft buying into the Nook. I'm sure you've got that on your list.
I don't have it on the list.
Oh, okay, well, I fucked up, dude. That's a big story.
I'm comfortable leaving that
Someone
off the list.
done messed up.
You don't think that's a relevant technology story?
I think it's
Microsoft buying a big chunk of the Nook platform.
Did they buy a chunk of the Nook platform, or I thought they just signed in as partners or whatever?
Yeah, there's some kind of big partnership.
They bought in. Yes, they did. They actually spent.
They invested in Barnes and Noble.
Tons of money.
Okay, well, I'll add it to the list. Nook stuff invested in.
But yeah,
talk about seeing how the sausage is made right here.
I actually think I've seen more.
And it's a shit sausage.
Oh no!
Why is it a shit sausage?
Because this is just shows how bad we are at our
Have you had lunch yet?
I had a big breakfast, which we can talk about later.
Okay, so Galaxy S, 720p, 4.8-inch AMOLED, 8 megapixel back camera, 1.9 megapixel front camera.
So you said before that the screen's bigger than Galaxy 2.
It's bigger than the Galaxy Nexus. It's way bigger than the Galaxy S2. But the Galaxy Nexus was, I think, the outside edge of what I would consider to be a phone that I would put in my pocket.
But this isn't setting a new standard yet for. It's not the biggest Android phone or anything.
Well, no, because
It's
like
not
the
crazy
Galaxy
big.
Note and there's stupid stuff
Well,
like
no,
the Streak and all that.
I actually think the Note is kind of in a category on its own. Where they've created this kind of hybrid category. I wouldn't call that the biggest phone, even though it is like a dedicated, just a regular.
It's more like a
Android
mini
phone.
tablet, you think, or
Well,
it's its own thing.
The Dell Streak 5,
But that's
that was 5 inches. But that
I
was
got
also a
into an
hybrid device.
argument online with a bunch of people about this, where I think
Wait,
you
really?
see pictures of people.
it's hard to
yeah,
believe.
I know, hard to
People argue online.
when you hold the Galaxy Note up to your ear as a phone, it looks kind of ridiculous.
There's a lot of things we do on a daily basis that look ridiculous.
But I try to minimize them as much as possible.
Well, you don't have a Galaxy Note.
It's to me, it's one step away from side talking. Remember that?
Nokia. Thanks for that, guys.
Nokia.
Thanks
Was
a
that
lot.
Nokia? Yeah.
Nokia.
Okay, what else? NFC, 16, 32 gigs at launch for the global versions, 64 gig coming later. It has a big battery, 4G in markets that support it, and it has a bunch of silly features that they've added.
When's the US launch?
No idea.
Summer.
Oh, they
North
said
American
they
in the
said
summer
I
4G,
tuned out before
late
that.
May for European.
So if you were going to get an Android phone,
I'd get a Galaxy Nexus.
You'd still get the Nexus
Yeah.
over this. Okay.
See, I think the launch was super anticlimactic because one, the Galaxy Nexus launch was delayed. If you remember, back in October, there
Well,
was
because Steve Jobs died.
there was supposed to be an announcement for the Galaxy Nexus. Everyone was waiting for that. It was going to be at the CTI8 event in San Diego, and then they had postponed it. All the invitations were canceled. They announced it in China a few weeks later, and I think the Galaxy Nexus has been selling well. It's the first big, LTE phone that the battery doesn't suck as much as the Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
And I think it's done fairly well. I mean, it was sold out for a long time, and people are still buying it up.
I see them out in the wild,
But
anecdotally.
the Galaxy S3 is the one that Samsung has more control over, and they get to put their own software on top of it. But it's only been a few months since the Galaxy Nexus launched, so there really couldn't be that many differences between the Galaxy Nexus and the S3. There are differences. It's a bigger battery. It's slightly thinner.
Is
The
it
screen
curved?
a little bigger. I think it's curved. But I think the big stuff here is their software. It's come out now. iPhone 4S has been out for a while, and now they're really pushing their own natural voice control.
Use Siri?
They don't call it Siri.
Oh.
It's called S Voice. And they have, this eye tracking technology in the front camera, so it knows if you're looking at the screen, so it doesn't dim the screen. Like, if you're reading something on your tablet, your phone, and you have to touch the screen periodically to make sure it doesn't dim if you're just reading a
That's the one thing
page.
that sounded cool.
Oh, that is cool. I like
So
that
now
idea.
it'll know if you're looking at it, and then
It seems
won't-
like it will
won't go to
use a
sleep
ton of battery.
and won't dim the screen. It's a 2100 milliamp hour battery, which I think is like 300 milliamps more than the Galaxy Nexus, but who knows?
Well,
what that
without
means.
4G
that means nothing unless until we actually get a chance to use it.
Well, so the thing about the big giant battery is on a 3G phone that could give it crazy good battery life, right? But I mean, nobody's going to buy this without a 4G in the US at least, because AT&T will have it on 4G, Verizon will have it on 4G.
Yeah, it's actually-
if Verizon even does the phone.
So you said maybe you said this earlier and I missed it. What flavor of Android is this phone going to run?
It's 4.0.
Yeah,
it's
with
Android
TouchWiz.
sandwich with. I don't think they
Right,
actually
and
said
and
TouchWiz, but it's TouchWiz.
But wait, so is that ICS?
ICS.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Last thing, the voice recognition was the one that killed me. The take a picture. Who's ever going to tell the phone to take a picture?
Nobody.
I mean, maybe if you have it propped up on a tripod or something, you're like 10 feet away. You say, "Hey, take a picture," and then it takes a picture as your
I mean,
your
that
mouth
could
is
function
open.
as like a little remote thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
to take self-portraits or whatever.
So
All of these seem like battery killing features, though. Like the
They're-
face recognition thing is going to destroy battery. The always on voice recognition is going to be brutal on battery.
I think a lot of what we see these days,
Quad-core CPU.
and not just in phones, but just in technology in general, is companies, developers, manufacturers throwing features into technology without, just for the sake of it, without a lot of thought of like what people actually want
you
and how
can
they use
tell
it.
from the keynote that at least the Samsung executives are really trying to push experience because they know that experience is more important than specs, but they still go back to the specs. So they'll say
they
three
can't do it.
sentences about how fun it'll be to use and how easy it'll be to use.
They
and-
actually
and how-
said it's
and then they'll just-
designed for humans.
And then they'll meet, in the next sentence they'll say, okay, by the way, it's also 133 grams
Yeah.
and 8.6 millimeters thick.
Yeah. So it's like they got the spec monkey on their back and they can't knock it loose.
Yeah,
they just got jonesing for the specs.
It's a tough thing to. I mean, what else are you going to say? I mean, yeah, it's super light. I mean, but at the same time, the numbers are meaningless until you actually put it in your hand and see how it really feels.
So the other thing that a lot of people who were at the event or who were watching it live said was that it was a really Jason Cross at PC World, who I'm going to call out on Twitter, said that the event was so bad it made him actively dislike the phone. They said it was made of earth, wind, and fire.
Oh dear!
Inspired by nature.
Inspired by nature.
Recorded water drops for sound effects.
Designed by use for real humans. It's just like a marketing nightmare. I don't know. And for the last 6 months, they've been telling us how amazing styluses are, and there's no stylus on this phone. So I don't know what to feel. Their marketing message is very, very all over the place. I'll be interested in the phone. I'm you know how we feel about Android phones with custom skins. So next up, anything else on Galaxy
So
S2?
that was
3?
I think that was probably
At least
the
they didn't-
second biggest mobile announcement this week.
At least they didn't call it the Galaxy S2, the new Galaxy S2. I mean,
They could have done that.
or they could have called it the new Galaxy S or something dopey like
Yeah.
that. Well, I mean, everybody makes marketing.
Well, I think Samsung at this point,
frank.
more than any other company, is so desperate to be the anti-Apple. I mean, they've got the whole marketing campaign, right, is very. They're actually doing kind of the equivalent of negative ads.
Yeah,
at
don't
Apple.
stand in line for our phones.
Right. Well, did you see
So-
this other thing now where they hired people to stand outside Apple stores with signs that say
It's a
"Wake
good
up"?
segue. So that was attributed to Samsung, and it actually wasn't Samsung. So I think it was in Australia that they did
Yeah,
this.
wasn't it like an agency that they had hired or something?
There was an agency, and most of these stunts could be blamed back to these creatives, these ad agencies.
Did you air quote creatives?
Yep, capital
Okay,
C.
it's important.
The
they,
BARC people.
They sent.
Yeah.
They paid actors to
Telephone
dress
sanitizers.
in black T-shirts and come out in a van and have a fake protest to tell Apple customers to wake up from their their meaningless lives.
Little did they know that Apple customers are just there to make free international long distance calls.
Somebody pointed out again on a message board. I thought there was a really good idea. I certainly don't claim credit for myself. I can't remember who said it though. A cool thing to do now would be for someone else like Samsung to remake the 1984
But they
Mac
did.
ad, but with Apple as
They tried.
now.
that.
Apple is Big Brother.
They tried that.
Oh,
for
they
the
did?
Super Bowl commercial. Motorola
Yeah.
tried.
Oh,
that.
they did.
They
It
did.
How'd that work out?
It was bad.
Remember we laughed.
It was a really bad ad.
I don't remember. Oh, maybe I do remember.
Yeah.
It
this
was like
now.
the row of people with the white earbuds, and they're all wearing white.
Oh yeah. It was a good
Yeah.
idea. It's a good idea in theory. Maybe the execution wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't directed by Ridley Scott,
Yeah, well, that's what you
and they
need.
played it over and
He's
over
busy.
again.
Yeah.
So the stunt, the wake up stunt, was actually paid for by RIM,
Really?
Research in Motion,
Ah.
and that I think is the bigger
See, it's
mobile device news this week.
Because that's on like number 5 or number 6 on my list.
RIM is back in the game.
Hmm.
BlackBerry 10 was announced this week.
They've announced a lot of OSs in the last few years.
BlackBerry 10, they had BlackBerry World in Florida 2 days ago.
Was it at Disney World?
I don't think it was at Disney World.
Oh.
And they showed off a completely new BlackBerry interface that's based off of the QNX.
So the same stuff
UI.
as the playbook?
It's similar to stuff based on the stuff that's in the playbook, but not exactly the same.
What happened to the playbook? Is that just dead now?
No,
or
they're
what?
still
They
supporting
update
it, and there's no LTE on it, but they will have one later this year.
And it has an email client and everything now.
And it's kind of cheap. It's actually pretty affordable.
Yeah, people, occasionally people ask us to go back and revisit it, and it's in a drawer or box someplace in storage or something.
I had completely
But,
forgotten about it.
If people want, if you want to hear more about it, then post in the
ran
comments
Flash
and we'll look at
pretty
it
well.
again. No, it ran Flash. I wouldn't say pretty well.
It ran Flash.
So we keep reading all these stories in the news these days about how RIM is moribund and they don't know how to get out of this problem that they're in, and they're getting attacked from all sides, and they're going to go extinct.
Even
what's
the
that?
Canadians are turning on
I
it
think
now.
they've acknowledged that their theoretical market is smaller. They really just care about retaining and exciting the enterprise users.
Right.
They're
So
not
have
going
they-
to go for everyone.
So they've given up on
I don't think they've
consumers
given
and
up,
entertainment, and
but
that
they're going to
stuff?
focus.
I think they're going to refocus on the
They're
market they still have to
Yeah.
keep it before they try to expand.
So they're just
into
digging
the
into their core market.
Yes.
Right.
blood from the
So-
turnip, man.
They finally caved to full touch for their phones, and BlackBerry 10 will be primarily touch. It's not like they're going to get rid of their the physical keys on some of their phones, but
Well, I would say the physical keys are one of the few reasons why people that like Blackberries still
Yeah.
stick to them.
If you-
Right?
well, you see those ads, right? Have you tried touch? Have you tried? Can you, who else can write 1,000 emails on their phone. You need a physical key for that.
I can write 1,000 emails on my phone.
I know. I mean, I know people. Like a friend of mine has an Android phone, which is a slider with an old keyboard on it, and she will say like, "Yeah, I just need this." There are some
But
people
it's
that
like
are
a-
never going to make that jump.
It's like a security blanket
Yeah.
at this point.
I think the blinking light, the notification light's more important than the keys.
Yeah, and the holster.
If my phone had a blinking security light for new alerts and emails as opposed to the vibrating phone, that would probably solve my the ghost phone syndrome.
Do
in the
you?
pocket.
I mean, the thing for me though is is that I get so much email, and most of it's junk. Most of it's stuff I don't need to look at. That setting up rules to make the light fire on stuff that I actually need to see versus stuff that I don't need to see was way more of a hassle than just looking at the phone every 30 minutes. To see
You
if
know
I
you
have
could
email
do
I need
well.
to look at. What could I do, Norm?
You could give up on the internet for a full year.
That's a great idea. I think that we should all do that. I think the weekend internet killing. Are we going to talk about this really? I didn't put it on the list on purpose. Okay.
I would be more impressed if someone came out and said, "Surprise! I had already given up on the internet for a year, and here is my tale about it."
I gave up on the internet a long time ago.
As opposed to, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do."
Yeah. Well, I've done stunts like that before. We've all done that. I used Linux for a year. That was miserable. I mean, I like Linux, okay, but I couldn't play games, and
Pointless.
I couldn't use Photoshop, and I mean, basically everything I learned everything that I needed to know within about the first 3 weeks to know that yes, here
do you know what
are
this
the
is
problems
about?
I'm going to have.
I heard about the dude that says he's going to sign off the internet for a year.
Yes,
Must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, I know they have a big staff over at The Verge. So Paul at The Verge is stepping away from the internet for a year, as it seems like kind of a stunt. I don't want to call it a stunt.
I think it's a bit of a pay attention to me type deal.
Yeah. So he's like filing stories via USB drive and not using the internet, and I guess he's killed his internet at home.
But
and
what
he's
is-
not
but what
using
is the
Xbox
point?
Live, and I think
Beyond for the sake doing it for the sake of it for the publicity stunt? What is the point? What can
No,
you
I
learn?
think it's the publicity stunt.
It's an arbitrary restriction. It's like saying, you know what, I'm going to hop around on one leg for a year just to see what it's like. What a waste of fucking time.
Well, no, I think it's dumber than that because, like, if your job is to work at a technology blog and write about technology and you don't use the internet, you're basically crippling yourself and saying, hey, I'm going to be unable to do my job
Right,
very well
exactly.
for the next year.
It's a pointless
You
thing.
could hop around on one leg and still execute your job pretty well if you're working at a technology blog, I think.
Okay, so actually, yeah, what he's doing is actually dumber
Right.
than hopping around on one leg.
Yeah. I mean, whatever floats their boat. He'll last like 3 months and then they'll have to like,
I don't think they can go back.
Well, the thing is, it just means it's a lot of more work for everyone around him, right? Because instead of him being able to do his shit and uploading to the CMS and all that himself, he has to give somebody a thumb drive, and then some poor bastard intern has to type it in and find pictures for him and do all the. It's just.
Yeah, he's just basically making himself a pain in the ass for everyone else that works in his
Well, but the
office.
nice thing is, his job's going to be a lot easier for the year. So I think this is a great idea. Norm, I'm not going to use email for the next year,
Okay.
or I am.
Okay.
I'm only accepting messages via carrier pigeon. I thought that story was really interesting a few weeks ago. So anyway, BlackBerry OS 10.
Yeah, so what's the deal with BlackBerry 10?
When is it coming out? What are there going to be new
October.
devices for it? It's all
Yeah.
new devices.
So they gave developers who attended the BlackBerry World a early dev unit, alpha
Okay.
unit, and which is not indicative of any real hardware that might come
Is it just
out.
like a bold shell?
No.
with-
It's completely new. It's has a weird I think 1280 by 768 resolution screen. It's full touch, and it runs early BB10 software, but not with the full UI. They call it Cascades.
Okay.
But it's for designing
so you can
apps.
build apps.
It's so you can build apps and test your apps on
And
touchscreen.
do they have some sort of plan to make it easy to port apps from Android or iOS or something like that, or do they not talk about that?
No, they want people to develop in Cascades.
Well, that makes sense, except for fourth platform. So okay, well I guess they're primarily looking at people who are building like custom like internal corporate apps and stuff like that too, right? For BlackBerry stuff. It's interesting. I don't know. We'll see.
I get depressed every time we talk about BlackBerry. I just feel bad for them.
Well,
Like,
even
what must it be like having to show up at the RIM offices and work there every day, just surrounded by the constant stench of death?
Jesus, Gary. I knew that it was bad at RIM when Matt Braga started talking shit about RIM because Matt Braga's Canadian, and
and they don't say bad things about anyone.
Canadians, well, and RIM's a Canadian company, so RIM was the poster child for the Canadian tech industry for a long time, along with like ATI.
So
and
is this
Matrox.
like if Seattle people start talking crap about Microsoft?
Yeah.
then that would be a really bad sign.
It's not good, not good. So we'll see. Hardware coming later this year, you said, right?
Later this year, October.
Interesting. Again, we talked a little bit about Wally last week and scooters. You know, the cupcake in a cup and the people movers. And a reader sent me a link to a story today about how scooter sales in the UK are on a sharp incline, not just for people who are infirmed or have trouble walking.
It's good torque on those scooters.
But also for people who just want something to ride down to the market to get groceries.
By scooter, you mean like a Vespa type thing?
No. I mean like a
you
rascal.
mean like a rascal.
Oh.
Like the George Costanza rascal.
Oh, okay.
They're calling them shopping scooters, and they're giving them like that's the category name now. So like because you can't afford gas because you live in London and it's really expensive, you have to pay £20 just to drive around.
Right.
You get the shopping scooter, and you can just tool around on the sidewalk with your groceries, and they're tarting them up so they look like they're cool and not just for old infirmed people.
You know what I was thinking the other day is that in these times, it could be the time for the return of something like. And I don't know if you'll even remember this because it was a very British thing back in the 80s, the Sinclair C5.
The Sinclair C5 is the computer?
No, the Sinclair C5. So it's Clive Sinclair,
Okay.
who you should know of.
Yeah.
Who created, he built some of the first digital watches and calculators, and then built a computing empire with the Sinclair ZX81.
Right.
And the
Timex
Spectrum.
ended up buying him or something.
At the height of his fame and riches and popularity in the 1980s, he was kind of like a mini Steve Jobs. And he parlayed all of his wealth and success into a little. Just Google it right now and pull up a picture so you can see what I'm talking about. Sinclair C5. It was a little battery-powered tricycle that you sat in, and you rode around on it, and it looked kind of absurd, and it was a big media story for a while.
This is like the kind of thing you buy for children.
But it was one of the huge, kind of like the Segway after it. There was a lot of hype about how this was going to transform the way people moved around.
It's like those
urban
small,
areas.
tiny Batmobiles that you buy at Toys R Us
but
for
it
children.
But it was embarrassing. And a few people bought them as a novelty, but it was gone very, very quickly.
This thing, you would risk death riding in this
Oh,
thing.
Are we supposed to ride in the sidewalk?
15 if I'm right in remembering, 15 mile per hour speed limit.
Top speed, 15 miles per hour.
Very limited
how much was
range.
But you didn't need a driver's license.
£399, I believe.
Wait, £499?
No,
$3.99. $30 plus for delivery.
Wait, £399, so it's like $700?
Probably $750 back then.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, a Segway is like $3,000.
And you can drive it unlicensed.
Why not just get a Segway?
Yeah.
Well, Segway's $5,000.
Segways
Are they
are
still
expensive.
super expensive?
They are still super expensive.
Yeah.
We live, or will live, but we are about, a mile away
You're welcome to move in if you need
from
someplace to stay, Norm.
the San Francisco Segway Company. The official Bay
Which is
Area.
ironically
still
in
never
Pacifica.
been on a Segway.
Oh, we should go do a Segway tour sometime. They're fun.
Don't we have coupons
wait, we have
for that?
coupons.
Yeah.
Those are
Did you buy
expire.
Groupons?
Holy crap!
I think we have a Groupon for a Segway tour around
It was a Yelp
Bogart
deal.
Park or something.
It's gonna expire soon. We gotta do that.
I want to do it.
Yeah. The Segway is interesting. We saw a Segway competitor at CES that's a unicycle that you just put your feet on, and you put your feet on either side of the wheel, and it uses the same kind of gyroscope thing to keep you level.
The woman would not let us ride.
No, she would not let us.
Do you remember how when right before they came out, there was all this hype about how it was going to revolutionize the way people moved around.
Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs.
They're going to have to redesign cities around, blah, blah, blah. And all
Luminaries.
It was that Time magazine article where he talked about almost having a psychic connection with the rider. So you just think about leaning forward. It's like skiing.
Well, he is right about that. I mean, you lean forward and you go forward.
I get
really
it. It's a very clever device, but I'm actually really glad that it never really took off on a mass scale. Like you see police forces and other tour companies.
Mall
and stuff.
cops.
Right, they're useful for certain things, but I'm actually glad that we don't live in that Wall-E future where people, because the Segway actually is the Wall-E future because
you understand it's still too much attention required.
Well, it's that we already live in a world where we barely move around anymore. We go up escalators, we go up elevators, we sit on chairs all day. Walking, the small amount that we do is like the last real exercise that everyday people still get. You take that away, and we're all fucked.
You know the
And just 30
hold on.
minutes of walking a day
Yeah,
can dramatically change your
right.
life.
And the Segway, I'm pretty sure that if everyone was running around on Segways, you would see incidences of heart-related illness and obesity and stuff go way, way up.
oh yeah.
Because that thing about just a little bit of exercise each day, I think, has been proven to be true. And the Segway would eat into that little bit of exercise that we get just from moving ourselves
They
around.
should give everyone a Segway, but can only be charged by walking. Like
So you have to drag it behind you.
For every minute you walk, you get 1 minute of use on the Segway.
I believe that's called a bicycle.
No. So
self-powered? Oh my god! We came out of the name for a self-powered
This is amazing.
Segway that you pedal to perambulate.
peasants?
Technology.
Do you climb the escalator or do you ride the escalator, Norm?
Depends if I have luggage.
Okay, assuming you don't have like a rolly cart behind you.
Depends on where it is and how many people are on there.
Coming out of BART,
If it's an
are you
empty
a escalator climber or are you an
it-
escalator walker? Rider.
let me tell you, if I'm getting off of BART and going to destination, I'm going to be walking after I leave the station. Escalator time is prime Twitter update time.
You just were on BART for like 25 minutes.
You have no internet on that. When you get off the train is when you first get
You
internet.
queue them all up and you boom, 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 boom as
and
you're
then
walking.
once you're on scale, that
Gary
15
escalator.
seconds
So Norm's
is
lazy.
prime Twitter
Gary
checking time, and then you walk to wherever you're supposed to go.
escalator
I was just
climb
trying to
or
think
escalator
about,
stand.
Well, I was just trying to think about what my elevator, escalator, stairs kind of cutoff is. You know what really bugs me? One of my pet peeves is
what
people,
grinds your gears?
one of those people that get on an escalator on an elevator to go down one floor pisses me off.
Well,
Depends how far the stairs are away from the elevator.
yeah. Sometimes the
Well, like in a
stairs are
parking lot or whatever,
inaccessible.
where the stairs are
Oh
right
yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. No.
Like in
use
an office
gravity.
building or
if you're in a
whatever.
parking lot, like the Metron parking lot,
Yeah.
and you're even on the 5th floor or something, use the stairs that go down
Yes.
because gravity
Yes.
assists you.
Yes.
It's easy. It's faster.
Yes.
See, I almost always just use the stairs because why not? Up or down, unless I'm carrying something.
If I'm like in a shopping mall or whatever, and there's like one flight of stairs and an escalator,
Yeah.
I'll take the stairs.
Sometimes the parking garage stairs are a little scary though. Like if it's late
Yeah.
at night or something, you
They
don't want to
stink
be
of
in there.
piss, too.
There's a hobo or something in
They
there.
stink
You don't
of
want
urine.
that. Yeah.
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 Good place to take a piss though if no one's looking.
I've done that before.
So it's you. You're the reason.
I rode a train. This was a long, long time ago, but I was stuck on a train coming back from a bar really late when I was dramatically underage, and I got on the train and there's no bathrooms in the metro in DC.
Where is the worst place? What is the worst thing that you've ever done in terms of like really, really needing to go to the bathroom and like it was not a good situation, but you had.
This is undoubtedly
you
it.
had to go.
Wow.
Yeah, this was
In a
like-
stairwell.
no, just in the garage between two cars.
My brother went in
okay.
the Pirates of the Caribbean.
I aimed for a
Disney
drain
ride
too. So really went in the water at Pirates of the Caribbean.
when we were children. Yeah.
Gross. Yeah.
I pissed into a Mountain Dew bottle in the Pixar parking lot one time.
Wait, this must have been recent.
Recently. When was this?
A mountain? Why a mountain?
Why
Dew
did you have
bottle?
Mountain
Why does,
Dew
it have to be,
bottle?
why does it have to be recent? Pixar's been around a long time.
But why would you be in the Pixar parking lot if it weren't recent?
Because I was going to Pixar.
Uh-huh.
I was invited to go to Pixar to talk to some people.
Was it a can or a bottle?
It was one of those big 20-ounce plastic,
Oh, no.
big wide mouth.
See, that's real borderline on volume too. You don't want to have to stop and dump and then go more.
I was driving to Pixar and I was stuck on the freeway because of traffic, and I needed to go.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it was agony. It was
yeah. Well,
absolute
when you feel it in
agony.
your back,
Oh, the
That's
kidneys.
so bad.
It was like a red hot poker. I just needed
Yeah.
to go, and you can feel your sphincter just feels like just a
Your urinary
ring,
sphincter, I
just a
hope.
ring of white hot lava. You want to go so bad. It's like really like just pissing myself at this point
right.
would be preferable
Right. When you're
to
thinking,
the agony that I'm
see,
in.
that's you never ever after the one time I never wanted to be in the position again where the thought went through my head. Oh, I'd rather just piss myself.
Anyway,
than go through this longer.
I finally got to the Pixar. I finally got into the Pixar parking lot, and the main building where I was going was still like a good couple of 100 yards away. And I didn't realize, as bad as it was sitting in the car,
walking
that until I
much
stood
worse.
up, like I couldn't walk. The agony was so bad, and so I had an empty soda bottle in the car, and so I had a quick
Yeah.
look around, and I filled the soda. I filled
Thank
up
you
the
for
soda.
being considerate and have a quick look around. Or
I filled up the soda bottle, and what you realize is like halfway up the soda bottle, you're thinking, I don't know how this is gonna go. Like I don't know what's gonna run out of space first.
Yeah.
Like, this could be real bad.
It's not a good feeling.
Because
once
when
you
you-
start, you can't stop.
Yeah, when you're that full, you can't
No.
shut it off midstream. But as it worked out, I had about 20 ounces or whatever it was that was in there. It was my full bladder was about the same
Of
as
Mountain
one of the big
Dew.
bottles. It was Coke or whatever it was.
There could have
It
been
was-
a real horror with the Mountain Dew.
And
bottle.
then they just emptied the bottle into these bushes that were by where my car was parked.
Okay, that's good. At least you poured it out immediately.
What do you think I was going to do with it? Keep it?
Store
Steal it and throw it in the trash?
Oh, that's
No,
bad.
I poured it out.
I see. Well, I don't know what you're supposed to do in that situation.
Come on, we've all been in this situation.
Oh yeah, everybody pees. Peeing is logical. Peeing is logical.
Yeah.
No.
Did you see the thing about that we posted about the 8-bit CPU guy, Kyle Houghton? Is his name? I think he wanted to know more about how computers worked. So like we all have a pretty good understanding of how computers work, like practical understanding, right? Where
I haven't got a fucking clue.
No, but that like the CPU does the math that makes like DVDs decode and stuff like that, and the video card makes graphics come up, and you have to have memory.
On that
you have to have
level,
a
I
hard
do
drive.
understand it,
Like
yeah.
it's Lego pieces that you jam together into a box, and then a computer is there, right?
Right.
This guy Kyle wanted to know more, like how the registers and the processing units and all the different stuff in a modern CPU comes together to make math happen, and wanted to understand it on a more, say, electrical engineering or computer science level.
Okay.
So he actually went and figured out, with the help of some experts and a book from like the mid 80s, how to build an 8-bit CPU with wires and transistors and stuff like that on a breadboard. And he has this incredible spaghetti mess of wires on this board that he made, and built a CPU out of it. I thought it was really a cool story.
What can you do with it?
It's basically like a mid 70s era computer that can do basic math.
How's it compared to a
and stuff like
calculator?
that. Modern calculator or 70s calculator?
Either.
Probably faster than a modern calculator, 70s calculator, vastly inferior to a modern calculator. The other interesting thing that came out of it, somebody posted in the comments, that you can actually buy FCPGA CPUs that are basically programmable. This is something that they originally started talking about in the mid 2000s. But it's basically a programmable gate array, so you can customize a CPU in software and then run the software on this piece of this device, and it hardwires that into becoming a specific CPU.
All right.
So people are using those to do like arcade emulation and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
okay.
rather than build a MAME machine, you just actually model the CPU and board from like an old Pac-Man machine, a RISC Pac-Man machine, run it on the FCPGA, and then you have the equivalent of the original Pac-Man machine running on this device. I thought that was pretty cool too. Scopa. What do you think about Scopa, Norm?
Meh. Not going to affect me.
You're not sharing your Facebook password with your employer?
Nope.
Okay, that's probably good. Gary, this doesn't apply to you so much. But in some places, and some industries especially, people are requiring that when you apply for a job, you hand over your Facebook password.
Yeah, I
Once
think
you
it's
reach a certain
outrageous,
point.
and I'm glad that Facebook came out against it.
Well, yeah, obviously Facebook's going to come out against it, but the federal government is actually working on it as well. There's
It's disgraceful.
a bill in process right now that will prevent people from having to share Facebook passwords.
What is the reasoning that employers give to get to demand?
The same reason they
access?
do a background check on people when they're hired. They want to see they want to see who your friends are, what you're posting, what your private stuff is, and know whether you're a good fit for your company. It's kind of sleazy, I think.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Schools do it too. I don't think that a lot of schools are requiring it for students, but for staff and faculty sometimes. So yeah, that hopefully will be illegal soon. It's unfortunate they picked a acronym that sounds just like SOPA.
Yeah.
So
Scopa good.
Scopa,
bad?
Scopa's a good thing. So be pro Scopa. BuzzFeed scientifically went through and determined who had the worst comments on the internet. And when I say scientifically, what I mean is they looked at a bunch of comments on the internet and picked out the worst ones. And guess what it was? Guess what site had?
I'm
going to
guess YouTube.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
You didn't even need to read the story. Like I was like, this is. I,
mean,
saw the headline.
It is the worst.
Yeah, I saw the headline. I was like, okay, they don't
I mean,
make
did
sense.
4chan get included in this?
No, they didn't include like underbelly of the internet. No, something awful. No 4chan. Which are primarily
Just
message
the
boards,
main
not
big
Is
comments.
it bad?
sites.
Is it negative comments per
It's. I think
user
they
per
were looking for
video?
the cesspooliest.
like quality of content, quantity?
Well, so some of them were like they talked about political sites for racial epithets and things like that. They talked about tech blogs for general know-it-allness and kind of like lame attitude. And basically they decided that YouTube included all of the other things that were bad about the other comments, plus the fact that people are functionally unable of stringing a coherent thought together.
YouTube
on
comments
YouTube.
are just terrible.
This is why
that's
you want
why
people.
that's why I like quietyoutube.com.
Yeah, you can turn off all the comments.
Well,
Yeah.
YouTube by default, if you're not signed in, doesn't show comments anymore.
Oh,
So like my mom probably doesn't know there are comments on YouTube.
They're just awful.
This is why you want people to have a license to use internet.
I think this is why. Yeah, I think this is why you should have to turn 14 and learn how to behave like an adult. Because the thing is, it seems like there's a real fine window there. Up until 13, people are normal. Especially men. Young men turn 14 and turn into little monsters. And then 2 years later, they're fine.
Yeah, it's all those hormones.
Yeah, I remember what that was like. Copyright infringement case in the UK. So this was a patent, the normal copyright trolls. They're coming through. The upshot is a judge finally realized in the UK that IP addresses aren't equal to people. So he said, "Wait, hold on. This what you were saying is that somebody in this house pirated a movie or whatever. I think it was ran a BitTorrent seed basically." And he then said, "But doesn't that mean that anyone else in this house could have been doing the copyright infringement? It doesn't have to be the person whose name is on the cable bill or internet bill, whatever." Mm-hmm. This is the first time that this has happened, I think, where somebody has said, "Oh, just because this person signed up for internet doesn't mean they didn't give access to someone else who actually was in violation of the law," and threw the case out. This was in the UK. Mm-hmm. I thought this was a nice precedent to be set.
Okay, good. Yeah, makes it common sense.
Yeah. Barnes & Noble. Microsoft put a bunch of money into Barnes & Noble.
We're at that point.
Where'd you hear that?
Oh my goodness!
It was on the internet earlier this week.
The point.
Yeah, we've come all the way around. I didn't read the story because I thought it was really boring. So somebody else needs to.
Why do you think it's boring?
Every time Microsoft invests in a platform, it dooms the platform.
Okay, well, but isn't that in itself interesting then? That Nook is now doomed, according to you?
I didn't want to call attention to that because I figured it would probably end with me eating eggs. Nook, actually, Barnes & Noble's done a couple interesting things. They released a version of the Simple Touch with a backlight now, or not a backlight, but a front light. So you don't have to have the kind of hoopty case with a light or a clip-on light or something like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Simple Touch still is a Simple Touch, so I'm not so keen on that.
Microsoft put $600 million to buy 15% of Nook.
I think when a player the size of Microsoft essentially takes sides in something that is as a bigger deal right now as kind of the ebook e-reader wars, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And Microsoft has set a precedent for investing in the underdogs in tech.
For example, Facebook,
Skype.
When Facebook was just a
Skype.
new company, Facebook, obviously they had a huge stake in Facebook, and that's why Facebook uses Bing. Nokia, they invested in, and now Barnes & Noble.
Pretty big companies, though.
Well, they're big, but they're in their field. Nokia not doing so well against Android and Apple, or against Motorola,
or doing anything at all really at the time.
And with Windows 8 coming out, Microsoft wants an exclusive for Nook on desktop.
The problem with this is people are tied to, because of the way ebook DRM works, people are tied to platforms and devices. And if there's no Amazon Kindle app for Windows 8, then that makes Windows 8 tablets much less interesting to pretty much, 66% or something like that of the ebook reader audience.
I think they'll have Kindle apps.
Right. I mean, obviously Amazon gets the value of having a platform. They put their app on everything. There's a Windows app already, I think. Or worst case, you can use Cloud Reader and use it in your browser. I just don't see the value of having I think it's much better to embrace the openness of your platform than tie into a specific ecosystem. Especially when the ecosystem is kind of the bad one.
Speaking of Microsoft, did you not think Windows Live No More was a big deal either?
I didn't see that.
Okay. All right. Good job.
Yeah. I'm reading about science stuff these days.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, all this is the old tested. Who cares about this stuff anymore?
Basically, my rule on tech news now is if I read it, if I look at it, it looks interesting, then I make a note. And if it doesn't interest me immediately, I assume Norm or you will pick it up. But since I was the only one who did show notes this week, then
Yeah.
There we are. What's the Live No More?
The Windows Live brand is going away.
Well, that was like 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
I just saw it this week.
Oh,
it seemed like
they did it. They said that when they announced the SkyDrive stuff and all that, or maybe they were just rumors about it at that point.
Oh, okay.
But it's just a branding change. Who cares? You're going to still have to sign in with what used to be called. What are they going to call it now? Just a Windows ID?
God knows.
A Bing ID?
Microsoft account?
Xbox ID? Microsoft account? Yeah. I mean, okay, that's fine. Chumby, Bunny Wong, who was one of the inventors of the Chumby, which I thought was quite nice device.
What was the Chumby like? That nightstand alarm clock?
It was
thing?
kind of like a pre-smart. In the days before smartphones, it was or before iPhone and Android. It was a thing that basically ran widgets on your nightstand.
I remember. Sony came up with a version of it as well.
Yeah, Sony licensed it and did their own. It was a neat idea, but was very quickly supplanted by smartphones that ran apps because they did everything that it did and were much faster and better.
Right.
But he did an interview and talked about the lessons they learned as a result of the Chumby stuff. That it was really quite good and informative.
Yeah, you should read that. It's on Make. Interview. He did it with Philip Trone. And dude lives in Singapore now, working on a bunch of other projects. But turns out it's not easy to design something cool. Pick a software platform, and then not have $1 billion on R&D.
Yeah, I mean,
reach a mass market.
One of the examples he gave was about making injection molds, and he specifically said, "Look, Apple will spend $250,000 or $300,000 making 10 of these injection molds, and throw out 9 of them." Just to make sure they have the one that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're running a company that has $1 million total cash, and that's all the money you have to come to market and live, then obviously
that's part of the problem now. It's like when you get to the final table of the World Series of Poker. The guy that's got the mega stack of chips, he's got the advantage.
He can just let attrition work.
He can just muscle you out of every hand, and that's kind of what the position that Apple's in now.
But they don't need to be an Apple competitor, and I think the problem was timing. They had to choose Flash.
There weren't other platforms for them to build on.
Before everyone realized Flash was going to be so great, it was cheap hardware on the inside, and it actually wasn't as hackable as people thought it was going to be. And also, it was before Kickstarter. I mean, there are a ton of Kickstarter projects that are just like the Chumby now that can reach directly to the people who want that stuff and not have to go through middlemen. But
there are actually a bunch of people having problems with Kickstarter now too, because there are people that are getting their Kickstarters funded at because the common wisdom on Kickstarter is that you put it for half of what you want to get, right? So that way, if you get a reasonable number of people that sign up, you actually do get to collect the money. Because if you don't reach the goal, all the money goes back to the people who pledge.
Right.
So what a lot of people are finding is that they're not able to make the device if they do it based on the half, or they give rewards that are too good, or they fuck up somewhere along the line with the rewards, and they actually end up losing money on the Kickstarter dramatically.
A lot of the Kickstarter projects now, now that people know that Kickstarter is a relatively easy way to basically get free money, are just people who already have real products,
right?
And they just need the enough money to pay for the first production run. Because normally when you do pre-order stuff, they don't charge your credit card until after they ship the product. With Kickstarter, they can say, we'll take your money now, get enough capital to make 1,000 of them.
Well, it seems like sometimes you get discounts and stuff like that. Like on that lens thing, you paid $45 for it instead of $70 or something.
They charge $45 for it.
Yeah, so
it's been great to see some of the high-profile Kickstarter success, and I think Kickstarter is a great thing. But I think part of the problem of the fact that it's become so popular is now everyone's diving in, and it's almost like I mean the market will regulate it, right? If it's a bad idea or people don't like it, then it won't get them.
Or if it's a scam, the
cream will always float to the top in a free market, which is basically what Kickstarter is. But I know it's starting to feel a bit like online panhandling.
Well, I know Ryan Davis was complaining about this on Twitter the other day, but we're getting a lot of people saying, "Hey, I have a Kickstarter out," and then you go and look at it, and it looks like a video that some dude put together in like 15 minutes,
right?
And people are finding scams. They will
sink to the
Sherlock
bottom.
Holmesing scams and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's growing pains happening there, and it'll work itself out, I'm sure.
Plus, when you invest in Kickstarter, you never get an actual share of the company,
right?
So it's kind of
you basically get a fucking tote bag, like giving money to public radio or something.
Or or it's a good way to get
Michael Krasny.
If it's a product that you already know you're going to buy and you believe in, and they have enough proof that it's going to be a real product, then it's a cheap pre-order.
Someone else expressed the problem that a lot of people don't actually, when they do these Kickstarters and they do the member benefits, like you get a free one of these and you get this and you get that they don't really figure out how much they're going to have to eventually give out to all these people, and the math doesn't always add up.
Right. Well, I mean, I know that's some people that I know are having that same problem right now. And then, of course, the other thing is that the product may actually be kind of shit when it comes out, because you're taking faith that they're going to actually make something that's good.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the most popular Kickstarters in recent times is that Pebble watch.
Yeah.
That e-ink watch that I think got several $1 million.
It's like $7 million or something like that. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
People are super excited about it because of its potential as a platform, as a iOS watch, e-ink screen, but it really can't do everything that you think it can do. Like it can alert you of phone calls, but not actual.
Well, just because of limitations in iOS.
Yes.
Intentional limitations in iOS. The other the other example of stuff that's weird on Kickstarter right now is well, I completely spaced out because I'm kind of wondering if people can hear Chloe drinking in the background. I guess not. Let's move on. I found the best Wikipedia footnote ever this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you know? Basically, it's a timeline. The article is this timeline of the far future, right? So it starts at about 8,000 years from now and goes to the heat death of the universe, and it's all things that we know are going to happen based on astrophysics or geology or a combination of the two, or what was one other category?
Right. We know the sun's going to blow up at some point.
Right. We know we have like 3 to 5 billion years basically, and then it's all over for the sun.
Back
Right?
in Texas.
Right. The footnote has to do with the heat death of the universe, which, depending on whether you believe different things, depending on whether like protons decay after a certain period of time, things like that, it could happen at a period of time in the future that spans a massive, massive scale. The scale is so large for this amount of time. It is 10 to the 10th to the 26th power.
Right.
So it's a 1 with 100 septillion zeros after it.
And this, of course, is why you can deposit a penny into your bank account today, go to the restaurant at the end of the universe,
Exactly.
and the interest will have accrued so that you can afford the meal.
The fantastically expensive meal
Right.
at the restaurant. Yes,
Right.
exactly.
The pig that wants you to eat it.
It's a cow, I think.
Whatever
actually,
it
but
was.
yeah.
I think it's like I don't think it's any particular kind of
They
animal.
said it was a steak. You look at my rump; it's nice and plump. I've been massaging it every day.
Yes,
Anyway,
but it's not a cow.
okay.
Didn't look like one in the TV show anyway.
Well,
It looked more like a pig.
Zaphod's second head looked like a parrot in a cage
Well,
in the TV
BBC
show.
in the 1970s. What are you going to do?
Yeah, they didn't. It was the 80s, I think, but they didn't have that much money. So a septillion zeros.
That's a lot.
A trillion. A billion is 9 zeros, right? A trillion is 12. A quadrillion is 15. A quintillion is 18. A sextillion is 21. And a septillion is 24 zeros.
Right.
This is 100 septillion zeros after the 1. That's how big the number is.
Right.
It's a ridiculous
It's not
number.
24 0. It's that many zeros.
No, it's yes, exactly. It's 100 septillion zeros.
Is there not a number for 100 septillion?
Well, there's a number for 1,000 septillion.
Okay.
But 100 septillion is 100 septillion.
Is that bigger than a Googleplex?
A Googleplex is 100 is 1 to times 10 to the 100th zeros.
So not.
So no, it's smaller.
A
It's
Googleplex is a Google raised to the power of a Google.
yes, a Googleplex is and a Googleplex is a Google raised to the power of a Googleplex.
Mad.
Yeah, there's numbers for everything. These are all incomprehensible numbers.
Yeah. You cannot comprehend these.
So the footnote is talking about 10 times 10 to the 26th, 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 26 years, right? This is when the heat death. This is the opening window of the heat death of the universe.
I didn't know there was a Googleplex. Did you just make that up?
No, it was on the bottom of the page that talks about the
okay.
septillion. I
All
found
right.
it this morning.
Okay, good.
The footnote is as such: 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 26 is 1 followed by 10 to the power of 26 or 100 septillion zeros. Although listed in years for convenience, the numbers beyond this point are so vast that they would be the same in whichever conventional units one could conceivably list them in, be they nanoseconds or star lifespans. So what that means is when you're talking about 10 times 10 to the power of 10 to the 26th years, the scale, the difference between nanoseconds and say 10 billion years, a star lifespan, is a rounding error.
Wow.
It's a lot of years.
Yeah.
So we got a while before
That'll
the heat
fry your
death.
fucking brain just trying to think about that.
Yeah, I sat down. I was like, "Is this right?" I had to go ask them. I was like, "Is this what this means?" And they said, "Yeah, that's what that means."
It's more.
It's
It's
fucking
larger
crazy.
than the number of brain cells you have, so you can't physically comprehend.
Is that true? I guess so.
Yes,
We don't have
absolutely,
septillion
but,
brain cells.
No, maybe brain connections, cell connections, but not sexual cells.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Let's see. Project Glass. Charlie Rose saw Project
That was last
Glass.
week, yeah.
We didn't talk about it last week though.
It
so
was. No, didn't we?
no, we didn't.
Yeah, it's still not a real product yet. We'll wait till next. We'll wait till the end of
let's
the
wait
year.
until we actually have some. It's
Yeah.
all interesting in theory, but whatever.
Okay. And then Amazon's making original shows.
Yeah.
Like Arrested Development? Well, that's Netflix.
Comedy shows and kids shows. Is what it
Everyone's
seems like.
jumping in now. Hulu's doing it.
Yes,
Netflix,
maybe we should make
obviously.
some shows.
YouTube.
I want to be a producer. Can I be a
YouTube's
producer?
doing upfronts now. I mean, that shows you just how much.
What are upfronts?
Upfronts are basically when the TV networks put together a big event, basically a showcase, where they unveil all their new shows, their schedule, their slate for the coming season.
A real physical event?
Yeah, they
a
usually do them in
convention?
New York City. All the TV journalists and advertisers and business people, all the people that are in the TV business that might be interested in doing business with the
this is
networks.
like you bring a pilot that you've made but haven't.
No.
Or not even that.
No, it's once the show, they're in the middle of this right now. Just like the schedule works in such a way that the networks right now are deciding what their shows for the upcoming season.
Okay, for fall.
Yeah, they're deciding that now.
Okay.
And once that's all decided, they'll do the upfronts. Once they know what season, what new shows they've picked up, what new shows are going to carry over to next season. Usually based on the new shows.
Yeah.
The new.
So
shows
they're going to
that
look and
launch.
see if they have a hole to fill the Two Broke Girls slot with. That came out wrong. So they're gonna before they decide if they're going to cancel Whitney.
Right.
They're going to look and see if they have something that they can put into Thursday night at whatever time Whitney's on.
That's a whole separate process. They're basically they sit around and they look at all their new pilots.
Okay.
They decide which ones they're going to pick up and put on the air. And once they know what their schedule is going to be for next season, they have this upfront event, which is like a showcase where they show all these new shows and they have the stars of the shows.
So they parade out
come
the
up
actors and do.
Yeah,
It's like Comic-Con, but with people who actually, spend money
but
in
primarily
ads.
for the media buyers and the advertisers,
Okay.
the people that would do business with the network. They unveil their new products
Okay.
for the year.
And now
YouTube's
and
doing
go-
it too,
and-
right?
And YouTube is now doing that.
That's crazy.
Which is, to the same buyers, which again is just continuing to blur the line between what we think about traditional television and internet television.
Speaking of internet television, so there's a rumor that came out this week that Hulu might require you to have a cable subscription.
Oh yeah, I'm not happy about this.
To actually use the service.
You have a cable subscription, though.
Yes,
And-
but what I find morally or acceptably is not just
okay,
about
agreed.
what is okay for me.
Well, usually it's just about what's okay for you.
Well, Hulu is the kind of last, or the I guess it's weird to call it the last.
It's like
bastion
if-
of cable cutting, but it really is one of the only services out there where you can actually not
Legally.
have cable. Legal services where you cannot have cable and watch television that is on TV.
It's like if we were suddenly taken over by a fascist government, and they said, right, we're just going to take everyone who doesn't have the initials GW and put them in a prison camp. I'm not going to go, yeah, that's all right. Can't see the problem with that. Doesn't affect me.
What if you could bring 5 people that didn't go to the prison
George
camp too?
Washington, A-OK. Gary Whitta, also okay.
That's true. That's true.
But you two are fucked.
I changed my name to George Whitta. George
Why
Wilson.
would you need Whitta? What are the good W last names?
Wilson?
Yeah, Wilson's
General.
good.
They would have a system in place to
think so?
ferret you people out. Yeah.
What if you could bring 5 people with you that didn't go to the prison camps? What if you chose life or death over the 5 people? And you could, because your initials are GW, you have the power to bring 5 of your dearest friends and family. Would you be okay with it then?
I don't know. I'm getting confused about what this offer actually is.
Fascist government. If you don't have the initials GW, you go to the prison camp.
Right.
But if you do have the initials GW, you can bring yourself and 5 of your friends not to the prison camp. They don't have to go. You choose. You choose between the prison camp or no prison
It's a
camp.
bit Sophie's choice, isn't it?
Well, not really.
It was like in Deep Impact. Where
Yeah,
you could,
not like
you
that.
could bring 2 people with you, your immediate family. If you
Which
were selected.
kid? You have 3 kids. Which ones come? Do you leave the dumb
I still
one, or do you
sometimes
leave
think.
that?
I still sometimes think about that idea where if I could just kill half the people in the world,
Which half?
so, I
Oh,
could
it's in
get
the
a-
Marvel Universe.
so that I could get a fucking parking space, and wouldn't have to wait in line for Space Mountain quite so long.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But the chances are that half the people that you know could die. You're like your friends. And
oh, you
stuff.
mean you wouldn't be able to choose which half live or die?
Roll the dice.
It'll be random. Everyone
Oh,
but
man.
you would have to flip a
Oh.
coin to live or die.
Wasn't that a Gwyneth Paltrow movie?
I don't know. Was it?
Really?
I think that was where she had to she had a thing that she could get whatever she wanted if she killed one person she didn't know the person
Oh, you're talking
was.
about
No,
box?
you're talking the box.
Yeah, the box.
That was Charlize Theron.
Oh, Charlotte.
No,
Theron.
it wasn't Charlize
Cameron
Theron.
Diaz.
Cameron
Oh,
Diaz.
I get those
James
two mixed
Marsden,
up sometimes. Yeah.
Directed by what's his name?
Richard Kelly.
Richard Kelly from Donnie Darko. and Southland Tales.
Yeah. You could press the button on the box.
Yeah.
And you would get $1 million, but some random person in the world who you've never met would die.
It was a classic Outer Limits or Twilight Zone story.
And there was a twist, right?
It was an Outer Limits, I think.
Right. The twist is that the box.
Are you going to spoil? No spoilers.
Well, the
No,
twist in the TV
original,
show is
TV
different in the
show.
movie.
Yeah.
Oh. What was the twist in the TV show?
Where they press the box to get the $1 million, but then the box goes to the next person, and they could be the person that die.
Oh, I thought that was that they were the person that dies.
the person that it kills is the previous person in the box.
That seems right.
Yeah.
No victims there.
Right.
I guess that's it for me. Hold on, the Hulu
So
thing.
the Hulu thing, it's still a rumor, but Hulu is owned by not only VCs and big investment firm, but also the people who own the
Fox
content.
and NBC.
Fox.
NBC was one of the original
ABC,
partners, not CBS.
Not CBS. And those network execs, they think it's the logical future. It probably won't happen soon, but they might have a system where if you have a cable subscription, then you can sign in and you get your Hulu shows.
Oh man, so it'll be just like
day
HBO
after?
Go and Xfinity. How fantastic!
The problem is, the cable towns of this world are seeing all this chatter about quote unquote cutting the cable, and they're not going to let that happen.
If you wanted to do something that impresses me, fucking cancel cable. Right? That's what do you get out of cable TV?
Well, at this point,
I meet those hipsters all the time. If they don't,
No, but there's a
don't have
difference
a
between
television.
There's a difference between I don't want to have a TV because blah blah blah, and saying I like watching TV. Fucking cut the cable.
I actually feel fairly confident at this point that I could cut the cable and live fairly happily. There's still a few weird outliers like HBO and things like that where I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
but I would, the other shows that I watch, Mad Men or whatever, I can easily get those a la carte off Amazon Instant Video and things like that.
Well, if you're comfortable living 3 months behind everybody else, then you lose nothing basically. Because you just wait until it comes out on DVD or.
Also move to
Blu-ray or
Colorado.
whatever. Why move to Colorado?
know where Eddie Bauer in the few years in the past.
I don't think is that a
South Park joke.
That's a South Park joke. Okay, very good.
Did you see that TV show? There's this clip about it's from this British show. I forget its name, but it was a prisoner's dilemma or a game theory show.
Okay, I like those.
Where two people are put at a table and they collectively raise money, to split. So you can raise up to £15,000 or £30,000 or whatever it was.
How do you raise money?
Well, you win. It's a game show.
It's like Millionaire or something.
Something like that.
Okay,
it doesn't matter. But the very final decision is that both the players have to make a choice, and the choice is you either take the money, you steal the money, or you share the money.
Oh, and is it? It's the normal game theory thing. If
both players choose to share the money, then
they lose.
No, then they keep the money, share the money. Then if both players choose to steal the money, then they get nothing. And if one player chooses to steal the money and one player chooses to share the money, then the person who chooses to steal the money gets all the money.
Is there a psych out? Like, can you
and
ice
then
the competitor?
Before you make the final choice, you have like a few minutes to talk it out with the person you're playing with.
Why wouldn't you not? If you're allowed to confer, why not just both agree to share the money?
Because Gary,
because we could agree, and then I could
exactly because you don't show. You don't show.
Are these people friends beforehand?
No, they're strangers.
Oh, then fuck that.
Complete strangers.
Everybody's gonna.
I wouldn't play this game with either of you two.
But if everyone chooses,
both of you would fuck me.
So
how would you play it? So right now.
You flip the coin.
Will and Gary, I have $10. If you both agree to share the $10, then you both get $5.
Do you actually have two $5 bills, or do you just have a 10? Let's see the money. I don't think you really have $10.
If one of you says you'll keep the money, or steal it, and one wants to share, then the person who wants to steal will keep all $10.
Right.
What would be your strategy?
I say we flip the coin. One heads is share, tails is steal.
I hate to sound like an asshole here, but my decision would be guided less by wanting to get as much money as possible and more by what I just thought was ethically right, and I would share it. If you want to choose to fuck me over, then that's fine. But at least I'll be able to sleep,
which is
sleep
a
at night.
very admirable thing to say and do. But when you're on TV and
Howie Mandel is fucking with you,
and the potential prize pool is $500,000 or $1 million or something,
right?
Human nature is gonna
See, at that point, when you're talking about when you're talking about amounts of money, especially I think the larger it goes, the easier it is to be driven by ethics. You can say, well, like half of this is still a shitload of money.
It's true.
Well, I'm just being greedy if I want to try and take all of it.
But you've never watched Deal or No Deal, because the thing is,
no, people keep going long after they should cash out. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's this video clip of the show. It's a real show, of an amazing display of game theory where, in the initial conversation, one person goes, "Okay, we're supposed to have this conversation about whether we were going to steal or share, but I'm just going to tell you right now, no matter what you do, I'm going to steal.
Yeah.
But I promise you that I will give you half the money after the show. I promise you."
But then why not just agree to share it? It's the same thing.
No,
because that means he controls.
I'm going to steal, Gary, no matter what. So
if you both, by the way, if you both steal, then no one gets
it.
Right?
So
okay.
all you can do is trust me to say split, to split after, and you say split.
By the way, just speaking of Deal or No Deal, you're right about the power of greed, because I used to fuck with people on that show. Do you ever see the episode where, like, halfway through, because they said to the guy before, like, what would you do with the money? And then, the family are there. And he says, oh, there's a bunch of things. We pay off some bills, blah, 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 go on vacation. And my daughter's always wanted a pony. And they had obviously done a pre-interview, because halfway through, when he got up to a certain amount, part of the banker's offer was they brought out a fucking pony and paraded it in front of this guy's daughter.
Oh, that's horrible.
And the guy kept playing and fucking lost it all.
They always do. And that's the reason you watch those shows.
Never ever be underestimated.
That's why you watch those shows. You watch that so you can watch the guy and be screaming at them to take the $250,000, and then when the gold case turns out to be full of lead, then they walk away.
I mean that is pure Schadenfreude when that happens. It's like you don't usually want to see people lose at game shows, but when they lose because of their own avarice, then they deserve everything.
Well, but there was an interesting study about this the other day too, because one of the things that people have been studying is, there's the idea in economics that people don't always make decisions that are rationally good for them, and there's been a lot of research about that. And one of the things that came out of this is that a lot of the decision-making basis, a lot of the way people make decisions is based on grammar. So if you phrase a question one way, they'll give one answer. Right. If you phrase the exact same question the other way, they give the other answer. The interesting thing is when you talk to bilingual people, that bias goes away if you ask them in the second language, not their non-native language. But if you ask them in the native language, then they have the same problem.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating, and it applies to this too. So if you put a non-English speaker, English is not the native language on Deal or No Deal, I bet the whole thing doesn't work.
That's very interesting.
Because they get to $20,000, they're like, "Fuck yeah, I'll take $20,000. We can go buy a pony."
Right.
I don't think a pony costs $20,000. So Norm, what happened?
So the person said, I'm going to steal no matter what, and the other person was in complete disbelief. He said, "No, why don't you split it? I can't trust you. I don't know you. If you're saying you're going to split it, just say split it." Time was up. They had to make a decision. The guy who made the first move immediately made his choice, and the other guy was given no choice. Basically, I mean, he could have.
Yeah, if you say I'm going to steal, then your choice is either lose
or trust.
Or trust, yeah.
And he chose trust at the very end, and it turns out
the guy
hit
share.
Yeah. And they shared it.
Yeah.
Good.
This is
glad to see a positive
great
result.
example of game theory.
Well, so the only way to win game theory is to take the choice out of the other person's hand.
Yes.
That's the idea. It's the same thing as when I play paper, rock, scissors. I would tell people I'm leading with stone. I always throw stone. And then the first thing they do is throw paper and you bust out a scissors. Or if they try to double guess you, then you throw stone and you actually win.
Well, wasn't that classic the classic odds game? Where there's like the 3 doors and
it's that if you can reduce the choice of remove one door, you always take the other door.
You always take the other door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great
Money Hall thing.
Yeah, the Money Hall thing. There's a great Wikipedia article about that breaks down all the logic of that.
But that's not a game theory thing. That's
no,
that's
just statistics,
thing.
Pure statistics, and you always make the other choice.
Right. And on the face of it, it doesn't seem like you're increasing your odds, but you are.
You are.
Yeah.
Because you stretch it out to like 100 doors as opposed to 3 doors, and if you make a choice, and
what was the name of that show?
Money Hall.
Let's
make a deal.
Yeah. And people write into newsletters saying, "No, I can. You're wrong."
It was a Marilyn Vos Savant thing. Was that woman who's the smartest person in the world according to the Associated Press? Or she has a weekly column along with Dr. Gott in newspapers, and it was a continual source of conversation in that column. Whenever she had nothing to talk about, she went to the letters file and pulled out somebody who was bitching about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the upshot is you go from a 1 in 3 chance to a 1 in 2 chance when you remove.
I have a great book that I bought years ago. I think it's called Taking Chances. I think the subtitle is like Winning with Probability or something. And it's all about like how probability works in the real world, like everything from coin flips to roulette wheels, and like how educate yourself about how.
Always bet on black.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because there's more black spaces than anything else, right?
No,
Not on a roulette wheel.
I thought there
Same.
were. I thought no.
Same
'cause-
number as black and red, and then there's a 0 and double 0.
No, I mean it's so a classic example of this, and everybody basically already knows this, is that black and red on a roulette wheel is not a 50-50 bet. The 0, and then they introduced a double 0 as well.
And there's a green space too, right?
That's the 0.
It's paying 50-50. It's paying off at 50-50, but your odds are worse than that. And that,
Oh, right.
that little edge, that little margin, is where the casino makes all its money.
Right.
Yep.
Well, that's yeah. Okay.
It used to be on a roulette wheel that the 0 was always there, and then the double 0 was added relatively recently because the casinos were like, well, we can shave this even more.
People aren't going to stop playing.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about what we've been testing?
I mean, we usually
You guys
do,
ready?
don't we?
I mean, it seems like a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was optional. It was just part of the show.
Well, I like to ask.
Okay.
You know, I mean,
it's nice.
I give everybody a feeling of kind of
Yeah.
you know
The illusion of free
choice.
will.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Norm, what have you been testing this week?
We shot a video this week with iPhone lens, and I think this is actually something that Gary you might like. It's kind of pricey, but it's the Olloclip. It's been out for a couple months now.
How do you spell that?
OLLOCLIP. It was a Kickstarter project, and this is the one that you mentioned earlier.
I alluded to it.
$45 when they did the Kickstarter, but now it's in Apple stores for $70. One of those things where if you had faith in the company and you paid $45 up front, then you got a pretty good deal.
It's a
so
neat
what
little
is it?
thing, though. Yeah.
What is it?
It's one of those iPhone lenses. So you remember when we went to Vegas and we had
Yeah, you stick the lens on the back
on
of
the magnet,
yeah.
right? So I have the magnet ring on my iPhone case right now.
Yeah.
But those are kind of unwieldy, and you have to swap out the lenses.
Well, and the magnet ring pops off, and
And
all
yeah, the
sorts of
glue isn't that
problems.
great.
Okay.
This is a clip that snaps onto the corner of the iPhone.
Okay.
And it's 3 lenses in one clip. And so you can rotate the clip, and you get a macro lens, you get a wide angle lens, and a fisheye lens. And so for people who like taking Instagram pictures, it actually takes pretty good
all
pictures.
right. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I thought it was pretty neat.
Did you do a video or something? On
Yeah,
this?
it'll be up tomorrow or Monday. I think I can't remember when it's going up.
All right. I'll
Next
look for it.
Wednesday.
Oh, next Wednesday in the future. One of the nice things about working out of our homes is that we shoot like 6 videos at once, and then they get doled out over a week and a half. Or
How's your office search going?
I think we have a group of people coming up early next week to look at more offices. So Andy and I went and looked at a ton of stuff 2 weeks ago now, last week. I can't remember. It seems like a long time ago. But we haven't, I guess it was last week, and we're like, we had a place that we were ready to sign on. It fell out at the last minute for reasons that aren't worth getting into. But
All right.
we're hoping to get space soon. I mean, it is nice to shoot 5 or 6 things on one day and then move on, but it just means we can't do anything that's really long. Like we haven't done any games for App of the Week in ages, just because like if you can't sit down and on the couch and kind of just talk about them, then it's difficult to explain how card games work or, whatever. It's not much fun.
Okay.
But we'll do that stuff when we get in office again. What else have we talked about? Let's see. I tested my 3rd-person camera rig. We haven't talked about this on the podcast yet, have we?
You talked about it a little bit.
So, I mean, this is nothing new. People have done it before. It's I was sitting here and looking around and said, "Oh, I have most of the parts that I need to do this. Let's see how it works." But the idea is to hang a backpack off of my back or Norm's back, whoever wants to wear it, and basically give you a third-person view of yourself walking around the real world. So I've done a bunch of tests with stuff. I'm using those Sony goggles, the big giant ones, and a black T-shirt to block out the outside world. And then I've figured out how to hang a GoPro off of the back of a backpack and give you a third-person wide-angle view of yourself navigating the real world.
The point being?
It's fun. It's silly.
Okay.
It's for Maker
Different
Faire.
perspective on life.
Well,
Wow.
it's like playing yourself in a video game, but when you're walking around.
Third-person video game.
Third-person
Why can't I
video
just say
game.
it's first-person and not have to make any effort?
Well, I mean, if you want to do that, you could. You'd have to narrow your
It's more
FOV
Diablo
some.
than Quake.
No, it's more Gears than Halo.
Oh, I want it to be Diablo, where it's one fixed point of view, so the camera rotates as you turn with the gyro.
You could
And
probably
so
do that with a
only
drone.
You only see yourself from like one side, isometric.
It's not a bad idea. We
But
need a drone for
this,
that.
third-person cameras, they used to be like really hot stuff on forums and maker forums. Like 5-6 years ago, before equipment was so readily available. I mean,
Yeah, the
before-
neat thing about this is it's all off the shelf, basically.
I mean, you can buy camera sensors, and HD cameras are relatively cheap now, and they all have live HDMI out. And then you have stuff like the Sony goggles, which you can buy off the shelf, and so you don't need to create your own goggles with a laptop. And
Although I've looked at goggles, I've been looking at the goggles, and you can get much less expensive goggles that are not 720p. And I found a great how-to on, I think, Make actually, where a dude took a pair of ski goggles and carved out the front and embedded the goggles in the ski goggles, so they just kind of hang on with a strap and are comfortable and all. I'm thinking about getting into that. I don't know.
you're gonna look weird no matter what.
Oh, it's not something you're gonna look normal wearing, but I have it all set up. We can try it out after the podcast is done if it stopped raining. Let's see what else have we got. We've got into the Lark. I've been using the Lark for the last 3 or 4 days, which is one of those. It's a wake up thing. It's like an alarm
Leah
clock.
had been using it for the longest time.
Did she like it?
She didn't like it,
Well-
and she's stopped using it now.
Yeah. So what it is, it's a wristband. You put it on. It has a little vibrating motor in it, and basically it connects to your phone with Bluetooth, and it has a clock. So when you get close to waking up, it supposedly tracks like your sleep patterns.
Yeah.
And tries to wake you up at the optimal time for not waking up kind of tired and grumpy. It wakes you up when you're in the right sleep state to
Well, it's good
to
if
be
you.
awoken.
It's good also, like for example, Leah and I. She had until recently when she was still working, she would have to get up much earlier than me.
Yeah.
And she got it so that she could wake up in the morning without the alarm clock
Silently.
also waking me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
which
Jawbone
is nice.
Up did the same thing too.
Yeah, but so the upshot on this thing is that the fact that the thing is on my wrist wakes me up every morning. Like when I get to the point where I'd be normally about to wake up, the fact that there's a thing on my wrist is just enough to wake me up.
Handcuffs.
Kind of, yeah. Like I don't know. I don't like it very much.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I don't seem to wake up any more refreshed or anything than I would just naturally.
Yeah.
This might be more valuable if I wasn't the person that was getting up, because I'm in the same boat as you. Gina gets up before me, so I always kind of hear her rustling around as she's going to get in the shower before I get up. So.
Right.
Hacking your sleep patterns is not easy, and there's no. I mean,
Well,
that's- yeah,
this does have a sleep coach thing, which I've started on. I think it takes 7 days to run.
sleep coach.
But basically, it tracks your patterns and it gives you recommendations based on when you go to bed about maybe going to bed earlier or later or something.
Jay-Z can be your sleep coach.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. Juice Orange. This is a solar powered battery. We tested that out. That video will be up next week as well. It's been out for a while, but it's kind of interesting. It's one of the better solar cells attached to a battery.
It's on the site right now.
Oh, it's on the site. Oh, yeah, it went up this morning. Okay. I couldn't remember which one he was doing first. And yeah, I mean, it's good. It's neat. It charges USB stuff.
I guess here is as good a place for it as any. I've been thinking about getting a Roku box
Okay.
because as we're finishing up the nursery that
Yeah.
the kid's going to sleep in, and one of the things we wanted to do was put a TV in there so that when we have to be in there late at night with the kid, or when the kid wakes up, then we've got something to maybe look at.
Yeah.
And I figure, well, let's we've got to get content on that screen. So you're looking at maybe one of these little boxes that gets you all the internet content. I thought about maybe an Apple TV, and I was looking around a bit more, and was looking at the Roku box. Because what I'm thinking now is the box is the one that has the most services available on it. And Roku's actually great because every single box that I have is missing at least one thing.
Yeah.
The little ones at least. Like the PlayStation right now is the only box of any kind that I own that covers all my bases because it
Hulu,
has
Netflix.
Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Instant Video, which I've come to really, really like.
Oh, that's on. I
NYPD
forgot
Blue.
that's on PlayStation now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on PlayStation now. So I get my NYPD Blue, I get my Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It has a great store where all the latest, stuff is on there. Again, if you've got a Prime membership, it has fantastic content.
It's a good bargain.
But I don't want to buy a whole PlayStation just to put in the room. So I'm looking at these, the little hockey puck size boxes. Apple TV doesn't have Hulu, doesn't have Amazon,
Doesn't really have apps.
doesn't have apps.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the Roku. Terrific. It has Hulu. It has Netflix. It has Pandora. It has Amazon. It has Vimeo. It has all the things that you would want. You can watch your content on it. It's great.
No, you can't.
Well, Giant Bomb, whatever, has that stuff on it.
Our stuff is broken. No ETA on fix, but hopefully not too long.
So I was looking at it. I saw one at Target, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get this. But you know what? It was the fucking bullshit Angry Birds
Well, that's the
special
nice one.
edition, which has a bullshit. I would have tolerated that except it has Angry Birds all over it, like literally like
Well, the
burned
actual
into the
box
fucking
doesn't
case.
have it. Really?
Oh, yeah, it has a big Angry Birds face right on top.
Oh, the one that we have, the one that we tested didn't have the Angry Bird stuff.
And it comes with a
worked
bullshit like Wiimote, so you can play Angry Birds on it.
But it's a normal remote. You never know it's a Wiimote unless you play a game.
I can't do that. So, but I am thinking about getting
That's a really
the regular,
irrational
just
choice.
the regular Roku 2 that isn't the bullshit.
Well,
Angry
I'm going to
Birds
go ahead and
edition.
tell you the Roku. You want to get the $79 one or the $99 one. You do not want to get the $50 one because the performance is real bad.
No, that's fine. What's the difference between 79 and 99?
I think one has the good remote and one doesn't. And whether the remote is actually better is up in the air.
I just don't want the Angry Birds one.
Also, the only way to get a wired Ethernet port is to get to the $99 one. Everything else.
I don't
is
want.
Wi-Fi
I don't
only.
want wired. There's no way to run cable into that room.
The only
Wi-Fi one.
The only thing that bums me out about Roku right now is that they don't have a YouTube app, which seems like a massive, massive oversight.
See, again,
Yeah.
there's always one little gap.
Yeah, there's always something. I'm increasingly
I don't care so
of the
much
opinion.
about that. I'm not really going to be sitting around watching YouTube videos on it.
Well, you think not, but the moment you think, the moment you plug it in, you're gonna be sitting there with the kid, and you're like, oh man, there's this fantastic YouTube video, and you won't be able
That's
to see
where
it.
the Apple TV and AirPlay really.
Yeah,
shines.
I mean that's the thing. I'm of the opinion if HBO Go streamed from Apple TV, from over AirPlay, I'd be down with just using
does Roku
AirPlay.
have HBO Go? I can't figure out. I think they do.
They do, but it doesn't work because
Oh.
that it seems like it is increasingly obvious that Microsoft paid Comcast to get HBO on the Xbox.
It's a frustrating time
but
because
not
we
on the
know in a
Roku.
few years this is all going to be sorted out. I hope.
I don't think so.
I think it will be. It'll be better in a few years.
There's too many people with vested interest to let it be sorted out easily. There's always going to be some sort of caveat. Because they're always going to want paying $100 for cable to be easier than doing this.
By the way, I haven't seen any reviews or I didn't even know it existed until I saw it in Target. And I'm going to guess it's crap, but I don't know that Sony has a Wi-Fi content media box now as well.
Yeah, I think it's crap.
But it has, has the Hulu and the Netflix and all that stuff on it. I just, I don't trust Sony anymore to make good products.
I can't remember who they license their stuff from. It may just be the Google TV one still.
Mm.
Is it a small box or is it?
Yeah,
a big
no,
box?
it's like a little Roku Apple TV size box.
Yeah, I'll have to go buy
And it was
one
like
and check
like
it out.
$99. Yeah, I'd be
I'm
interested to know if
interested,
it's
yeah.
any good actually. Because I'm not saying that it can't be good. I'm just saying I don't trust.
It's
Sony
unlikely.
anymore.
Yeah.
I would want to see reviews before
After
I would
using-
pick up something like that.
And a bunch of people suggested you buy the Boxy.
Yeah, and I mean, why? What's Boxy got that Roku?
So the
doesn't?
thing Boxy does is if you can get to it in a web browser, then you can play video. Like it'll play Flash video from the web and stuff like
I
that.
don't want anything fancy. I just want a box that'll have all the nice, packaged up content services that I want.
And you don't have actual ripped DVDs on your computer or server.
I'm going to wind up
So-
putting either an Apple TV or a Roku in there, but I think like a Roku would be if.
Don't you have an old Apple TV still?
Yeah, but we already repurposed that.
Oh, okay. Well, la ti da.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for me, unless you want to watch HBO stuff, the Apple TV and AirPlay is the way to go. But Roku's really nice.
But I want Hulu, I want Amazon, and those are big.
Well,
It's
you
okay
can play
down-
Hulu over
It's
AirPlay,
okay downstairs
can't
in the
you?
living room where if one box doesn't do it, another box will. But I'm saying if you're
I get
creating a
it.
room where you can only have one box,
Yeah.
you're going to want the box that casts the widest net.
Yeah, but doesn't Hulu stream over AirPlay or no?
I would be really surprised if it did. And even then, you're using multiple devices. It's a hassle.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I don't know that there's a good solution for you, Gary. Put a PC
Roku.
in there, make it easy.
Oh yeah, that's what I want. I think it's going to be a Roku box. I think it's going to be the non-Angry Birds Roku box will be the solution.
It's a big selling point when people go to Target and see the Angry Birds on the Roku box. Like, oh, I want to buy that because there's Angry Birds.
Oh,
on
that's the thing. I mean, and I think it was actually like a Target exclusive or something. And it was the only one they sold. I said, do you have one that doesn't have this fucking birds shit on it? And he's like, no, that's the only one we've got.
Every time
And I said, well, fuck you then.
Really?
And I kicked him in the fucking face.
the poor retail guy.
And that's what I did in my head.
What did you really do?
See, this is why that 30-second rewind would be so good.
You just work out your aggression on the guy that's making $15 an hour selling Roku boxes at Target.
Yeah.
It's not very nice.
But
man.
then I pressed the button and it never happened.
Your eyes glazed over, and it's like, sir,
That would-
sir.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Excuse me?
excuse me, I'm having a
Yeah.
fantasy right
Yeah,
now.
sorry,
about
hold on.
Kicking your
I'm
teeth
imagining
in.
kicking you in the face.
that would be so damaging for you. Eventually, you would forget. You just stop forgetting. You just forget to start pressing the button. You'd punch someone in the face and drop the remote. The batteries would fall out.
Yeah, the
and,
battery runs out. It's
it
like, oh
would
shit,
be-
now I can't get back.
Yeah.
But it was worth it.
I need some AA batteries in the next 2 seconds.
Yes.
Boom.
But I'm in Target,
Okay.
so I could probably get them really quickly.
I don't think 30 seconds though.
I'm in the electronics section.
I
I got
don't-
to tear open the packet.
You'd rewind
Gary, I
to
don't
the
think you
fist
could do it.
midair.
I don't think any of us could do it, even if we had the rewind button. the mental trauma.
Yeah, your
of
hands would
you
be
doing-
shaking.
Yeah, it'd be too like if I told you, guaranteed, Gary, right now, that this device is a time travel device. But you can't test it. But I guarantee it works.
Is this a game theory thing again?
No, it's just a psychological thing. You can do it.
I probably wouldn't trust you when you say you're giving me a working time travel device.
You think that would be the
There
tip
probably
off?
would be some skepticism.
Interesting. I think you'd have a hard time hitting somebody even if you didn't have the time travel thing in play. I think if I was the Target guy, if I was working at Target and I said, I know you're unhappy about this Angry Bird situation, sir. Would punching me in the face make you feel better?
It's the
I
sense-
don't think you would do it.
It's the Sands of Time dagger, right? That's basically
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
But in a nice kind of modern packaging.
Yeah, without having to stab people to recharge it,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah.
That was a good game. I like that game.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah. Let's see. Last thing, the blood pressure cuff. I got an iPhone blood pressure cuff.
Oh, how is it?
It takes your blood pressure.
Do you have it here?
Yeah, you
I
want to
might
try
take
it?
my blood pressure after the show.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
We should have been taking your blood pressure all through the show.
Yeah, you see some interesting spikes.
We have a heart rate monitor too. We
When I
can hook
start
you up
talking
to
about
that.
kicking people in the face, it starts
Right.
going up.
Yeah, so it's basically you put it on your arm,
Yeah.
just like a normal blood pressure cuff. You plug
Yeah.
it into your iPhone, hit the start button on the iPhone.
Yeah.
There's a couple AA batteries in it or something that power a fan
Right.
puff up the cuff.
Right.
And it works just like the thing at
Do
Rite
they
Aid
really
or
need to
wherever.
connect to an iPhone?
Do you ever do that thing where you ever take your blood pressure at the machine that they have at the supermarket?
That's my favorite part of as a child going to the supermarket.
Do you ever have that weird feeling that as it's inflating, that like, what if it doesn't stop?
I
It
usually-
squeezes my arm right off.
I usually have a key in my hand just in case I need to poke it, poke my arm free. It has the emergency
like to
stop button.
puncture
now.
the bladder?
It's the
Yeah.
big red
Okay.
stop button.
Yeah, but
But
what if that doesn't work? And then your arm comes off.
Yeah, what if it's a saw situation? You're just like
it only
tourniquet.
takes one disgruntled engineer at that company.
Yeah,
And you've lost an arm.
yeah. He's sitting there with his 30-second back button.
You'd have a nice-
and the batteries don't work.
You'd have a nice little lawsuit, though.
Yeah, I don't think I'd rather have an arm. It's your left arm though, so I mean, who cares? Well, you're
I'm
left-handed.
left-handed. That's the problem.
Oh, that's real bad.
There is that moment just as it gets super tight. I'm going, what if this doesn't stop?
Yeah.
And then it does.
Yeah. Well,
I
you
know,
have that
It's
with
just
this.
air.
But that's why. That's why I think I always get unnaturally high blood pressure because I'm freaking out about the
Well,
thing.
so that's a thing.
Taking my arm off.
Like I talk to my doctor about it because every time I go to the doctor, I have high blood pressure, and when I do it in the machine, it's always fine.
Yeah.
And we talked about it because he wanted to put me on meds for blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, why don't you just take your blood pressure at home and see how it goes? Because it's probably just that you're getting anxious about your blood pressure because you have a family history.
Let's
of
all take
this
our
and all
blood
that
pressure
stuff.
after the show.
Norm doesn't work. His arms are too skinny.
What?
All
My
that
arms
work.
are skinnier than Norm's, probably.
Really?
Yeah, I got
I
skinny
don't know.
arms.
Maybe he just was sitting wrong yesterday. We'll try it again.
All right.
We'll do it after the show.
Yeah. Do you have high blood pressure then?
120/80 when I take it at home.
Don't spoil it.
But
Well,
How's that
one
a spoiler?
140/90 every fucking time at the doctor's office.
wow.
It's always the worst.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
you know what?
I get cranked
Because
up
you're
about
nervous
it.
about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I know. It's self-defeating.
Well, and the thing is, sometimes they have a hard time with me for whatever reason. So when the nurse is taking, or the PA or whatever is taking my blood pressure, he's usually sitting there, and usually it takes 2 tries because he's like, oh, I wasn't sure if I think I missed it. And the second try, it's always worse.
You ever see that episode of Curb where they have to take his, they have to do an EKG, and there's a hot
No.
nurse in the office, and she always comes in when they're taking his reading.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I saw an episode of Seinfeld the other day where LD was like a cameo. It wasn't a cameo. He was an extra.
Well, he would cameo all the time.
Yeah, but it was the one with
He
Lloyd
plays
Braun.
George,
He's the voice of Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
Well, I knew he was the voice of Steinbrenner, but this one was the one with Lloyd Braun when Kramer was working at that movie theater. And at the end, when they go to buy, when George is wearing the Henry VIII costume,
Yeah, and
he's like pops out of the window there. I was
Yeah.
like, shit, that's
Yeah,
LD.
that's LD, yeah.
crazy. It's funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
I know
he
I shouldn't be
shows
surprised.
up a
but
couple of times in that show.
It's good. I guess that does it for what we've been testing. Unless you have anything else, Gary. We'll save your other thing for fake outtakes.
testing. No, I think I'm good.
Or Norm, you want to talk about Filmic at all, or no? Okay.
You want to talk about Coke Freestyle? Is that for
Yeah,
testing?
that's what we can talk
Okay.
about that and what we've been testing. Norm and I got to try this in Seattle last
Oh,
week.
I can talk
Portland,
about. We
yeah.
can talk about my Asian food experience as well because I tested.
Let's save that for fake
You should
outtakes.
just stop at Asian.
My Asian
You're
experience.
so excited.
Oh boy. So the Coke Freestyle thing, Jeff and Ryan told us about this.
I did not know
ages
this
ago.
was a thing until this morning. I never knew it
Oh,
existed.
So
Yeah.
at the melt, the
They don't have it at the
no,
melt, do they?
They don't have it at the melt, but they have a different thing. And I thought that's what I thought it was. So at these, I guess some delis have it too. They have a
I guess
Coke-
Five Guys has it, and now it's showing up at Denny's. That's how we discovered it.
Yeah,
this
they had
morning.
it at like a fancy hamburger place in Portland.
The one with the melt is different because it's very steampunkish. You have a lever, and then you can like rotate it and then
Right.
push it down. There's, like, four
Where I was, you
drink
don't have the
options.
fun of using the machine.
Yeah.
You just order it and they bring it to you.
Right. So what Will's talking about is it looks like a vending machine. It's a giant ice machine.
Yeah.
With a digital LCD screen.
Yeah.
And it's
like a touch screen with the whole
interactive
9
game
yards.
experience.
Right.
It's almost.
And you can basically
choose your
customize your flavors. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
And it's
can't
all
just-
the Coke family drinks. So it's
Right.
Coke, it's Sprite,
Pib.
it's Minute Maid.
And you think it'd be as easy as, I want a Diet Coke. So you click Diet Coke. No. Do you want one of these 5 different varieties of Diet Coke?
yeah.
Diet Coke Cherry, Diet Coke
Vanilla,
Lime.
Diet
So the
Coke,
flavors that I saw, for
raspberry,
example, just
orange.
from Coke, the flavors that I saw, because so we're sitting at Denny's.
Yeah.
We went for breakfast this morning, me and Leah, and there's a decal on the table saying Coke Freestyle, over 100 different flavor combinations. And I'm like, what is this? And so like Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, Minute Maid with a 4, and Fanta. Sorry, with a
cores,
5
yeah.
that they had. So in each family, they have all different flavor variations. And Coke was, for example, so like some of the ones that we've always known exist, like cherry,
Yeah.
vanilla,
Standard
cherry
things.
vanilla, lime. These are all ones that we've seen. You can buy these in-
Orange.
orange. This is when I started to go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Orange, raspberry,
Yep.
and I think there was a couple of others as well. And I said, I want to try this. So that waitress is actually really nice. I said, I want to try this. So I said, can you bring an orange? She said, I brought you an orange and a mystery one. See if you can figure out what it is.
Ooh, so they're fucking with you.
We tried the orange and the raspberry, and those were the 2 that I liked the most. So I tweeted about it, and
Yeah.
I then because this is a thing that people know about. I'm only discovering this. I'm a little bit late to the party on this. That people were saying, oh, you can even take it to the next level and start mixing those
Yes.
flavors.
Yeah.
So like you can mix orange and vanilla and make like a creamsicle.
I want a panic button.
Or you
that-
can
that
mix
mixes
like
all
lime
the flavors.
and cherry and make like a lime Ricky. Like you can do all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
So when we were at this place in Portland, like Norm and Joey went and got their. Well, Joey was drinking water because he's a grown up, but Norm went and got his drink, and I was behind him. And I was sitting there paralyzed by indecision, looking at this. First off, the UI is kind of bad on the machine. It's a little laggy. It's not a multi-touch screen, so you had to really
fancy
mash it and stuff like
animations
that. And I probably spent maybe 3 minutes at it. I don't know. It seems like it was a long time.
Did you feel like that you were given too much choice? That you were
I was
paralyzed?
Paralyzed because I was like, I don't really like vanilla Coke very much because they use bad. It doesn't taste like real vanilla, and I like cherry Coke, but that seems like the wrong choice here. And citrus Coke seems like a bad idea, and so I ended up just getting a Mr. Pibb with cherry in it. Which I
You wanted a
thought
flow
was
chart.
novel. Yeah, but what happened was I turned around and there were like 8 people behind me in the line, kind of like tapping their feet and looking at their watches.
So what did you
and
want?
5-year-old
getting?
kid, arms folded.
I ended up getting orange Pibb. That was ill advised.
The other 2 that she brought, the mystery ones, turned out to be lime, which is
Okay.
no great shake because again I've tried that before,
Boring.
and cherry vanilla Coke.
I don't like the cherry vanilla flavor.
I didn't love it either. They were it just tasted like Coke that had kind of gone bad almost.
So the
but
weird-
the orange and the like orange Coke is really good.
I'll have to
I
try the
enjoyed that a
orange.
lot. Yeah, try the orange.
One of the things
That was my favorite.
The interesting thing for me about this whole thing is that it's basically come full circle from the soda jerks in the 50s. Because when my dad was a soda jerk when he was in high school, and that means he was basically worked at a soda fountain, scooped ice cream, and made root beer floats and milkshakes and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But one of the things that they would do was they would take a Coke, and they made it on the spot. They'd pour a little syrup in the bottom. They'd put the carbonated water in, and if you wanted to have a flavored Coke, like a vanilla Coke or a cherry Coke or whatever, they had syrups that they could do that for all of that there.
Right.
And so
this is now just an
literally
automated version of
full
that.
circle.
Yeah.
Just like shaved
Yeah.
ice with syrup.
Coke killing jobs once again. Way to go, Coke.
Soda fountain, real
Well, no,
fountain.
I mean, they haven't really killed the job because that job's been dead for years.
Soda
They
jerks.
just brought back an automatic
Gary,
version of
what
it.
do you have against the soda jerks, man?
No, I love that. Hey, look, if I could go
Candyman.
back to the 50s and like go to the corner drugstore and sit there and eat an ice cream and a soda fountain thing, it'd be great.
Not know about calories?
Sing a song, have the
Exercise.
Smoke a
Candyman.
cigarette?
Exercise some casual racism.
Yeah, hey, I'm getting a little heavy. I'm going to start smoking heavy. I'll pick up an extra pack a day. It'll increase my metabolism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For
sure.
science.
Anyway, I thought it was interesting, and I thought the orange and raspberry flavors were very good. And
That's
then,
good to
like
know.
I said, I thought it was interesting to see that people are already kind of making their own concoctions beyond, like the 100 combinations that Coke offer you aren't enough for people that are already taking it to the next level.
People are crazy.
There should
Yeah.
be like statistics for the best flavors. Maybe
But the
have-
orange and vanilla creamsicle one sounded really.
This is what Jim Cameron should really be working on: is delving into the depths of the Coke flavor machine to figure out what the ultimate flavor is.
Yeah.
Forget going to the deepest place on Earth.
They didn't have Pib. That was
No
the one.
Pib?
No.
Ah, disappointing. I like Pib, but it's no Dr. Pepper.
And then the Fanta one was kind of confusing me because it just seemed like Fanta isn't something that really gets with flavor added. They just have different flavors of Fanta.
Well, I think of Fanta as orange and grape. I think there's a
they
red
had
one
orange,
too.
they had grape, they had raspberry, they
Or
had
strawberry, right?
Strawberry. The
Yeah.
one that they were missing, which is a Fanta flavor, which is my personal favorite, is pineapple.
What?
You never had pineapple Fanta?
I've just had orange Fanta.
It is the best.
I'm more of an orange Crush guy personally. I
Okay.
like the Crush better than the Fanta.
I like Fanta. Fanta, was how Coke got into Nazi Germany.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, good to know.
They wanted to sell their products to...
Why do you know this, Gary?
Because I'm a student of history.
Okay.
Coke wanted to sell their products to the Nazis, but didn't want the blowback of being seen to do it, so they created a sub-brand.
Coke, the official beverage of Nazi Germany.
So when you drink Fanta, you're drinking Nazi cola.
Oh, that's gross, dude. Not good. I'm going to play some music, and then we're going to take a couple questions.
By the way, that may not be true, just in case we don't get sued. I think...
Everything Gary says may be apocryphal.
I think there is definitely a weird story to it. There's some Nazi related.
Did it have cocaine when they were sending? It was like poison Coke to sending to the Germans?
No, I think they were out of that. Well, that would have been the way to do it,
Right? Like
they could have done their bit for the war effort.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
they probably just would have been killing innocent German people.
Yeah, I don't think they were drinking soda on the front
If they knew
lines.
that Hitler loved Coke,
Yeah, well, they send him the magic.
they would send him
Yeah.
some that could have been poisoned. But
Yeah.
then he probably had someone test it. I think
sure
he had
they-
people testing his food at that
I'm
point.
sure Hitler wasn't drinking American soda deep into the war. Seems like
You
that would
don't
be
know.
ill-advised.
You never know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to play the music, and then we're going to take some serious questions. If you have a question for the Tested Podcast, the email address is podcast@tested.com. Keep it short, under 45 seconds. Listen to it and make sure you sound like a human being and are legible. And, just be casual. It'll be fun. It's not that hard to send a question in. Here's the first question.
Hello, Tested Crew. This is Dude Mullet from Tijuana, Mexico. A little bit of home trivia. The Caesar salad was invented in Tijuana at a hotel. Now for my question. I just saw your sous vide technique being used on your New York steaks, and it made me hungry, by the way. And I was wondering if you could use Ziploc bags instead of airtight ones. I mean, it's basically just to keep the water out, right? Shouldn't the Ziploc bags be enough? Anyway, thank you, and keep on testing.
Is that guy's name really Dude Mullet?
I think that's his username.
Oh, okay.
I don't think his the name of his driver's license is Dude Mullet.
That's a shame.
although
That would be a
pretty
good. That
rad.
would be a good name.
Yeah, so you can use Ziploc bags, but you have to use the right ones. There are these things called Ziploc boil bags, and they're for like boiling vegetables in water and stuff
They're
like
actually
that.
Ziploc brand.
I think Ziploc, they're either Glad or Ziploc. I can't remember in the U.S. But you want to have the ones that have the appropriate lining so they don't break down at high temperature and inject your food with plastic.
Do you know what I discovered the other day?
Double bagging.
Double bagging isn't going to help because it's a heat thing, not a water
You know how
thing.
you occasionally discover that things that are just generic names actually are brand names.
Uh-huh.
Like jacuzzi is actually a brand.
Yes.
Kleenex.
Onesie.
What's a onesie?
You know onesies.
Oh, like the clothes? Like a pullover?
Like
No,
the
for
little
babies.
baby suits. They're just the one-piece baby suits.
Like a baby
That's
Bjorn.
owned by the Gerber Corporation.
I hope your baby exclusively dresses in suits. Like a little
like
bow
business
tie.
suits?
Yeah, like business suits for babies.
Maybe
I
I'll
think
do that
this
and create like a business baby meme.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Be the sequel to
Like
Business Cat.
your kid could be the Don Draper of babies.
Business Cat was my favorite.
Business Cat's pretty good. So the important thing to note is you want to have contact. You want to get as much of the air out of the bag as you can, so that there's plenty of contact between the water and the meat.
Right.
So don't like put an inflated Ziploc bag in a cooler.
Could you
and
like
expect
get
it to cook.
like stick a straw in there and
I
suck
would be
it out?
hesitant to suck the air out of a Ziploc bag.
I think
that
you're
has
probably
raw
okay.
meat.
Don't be such a baby,
inside.
Chan.
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
Right. Do you eat beef steak tartare?
You
eat
eat, I mean,
sushi?
you could just eat the raw meat if you want. You're not going to get sick. As long as
Probably.
it's fresh.
Probably.
Tastes gross.
There are some parasite concerns. You probably don't want to do it with chicken, but beef is more or less okay.
Oh, you know what? It's making me really want steak tartare.
I'd have some
love
steak tartare.
tartare.
You know, do you ever go
So
to the,
good.
do you ever go to the sushi places where they do the sliced steak tartare, the sliced beef sushi? Sushi Groove. Sushi
I've
Groove?
had like that Kobe beef tartar. Although it's
Yeah.
not real Kobe beef, it's they do that.
It's the same
I love it
treatment,
when
yeah.
I love the places where I don't even know where I would go for this now or where I got it, but like they make the steak tartare at the table side, like they chop it up
that's
with
nice.
with the raw egg and everything and capers. Oh, so good.
It's really living on the eating edge, eating the raw egg and the raw beef at the same time.
Yeah, but again, if it's fresh ingredients, you shouldn't have a problem.
+5 Constitution.
Exactly. I'm going to play another question. Boil bags. That's the answer.
Okay.
Look for the boil bags. And Caesar Gardini was the guy who invented the Caesar
And
salad.
are there special? And they're so that the plastic doesn't like come apart in boiling water or something.
Basically, there's a liner on the inside that because plastic, when it's heated, breaks down and releases some chemicals that are bad.
I see.
There's a liner on the inside. You want to do the same thing when you're using vacuum bags too. You have to get the ones that say boil safe.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, like any Ziploc that says it's safe for boiling is
All right.
fine. Here's the next question. This one's kind of long. It's about Linux and Steam. I'm going to play it.
Last week, this happened.
The other big Valve news, I don't know if you heard, it sounds like Steam on Linux is imminent.
That means Android, Steam, and all that stuff is possible. Chrome OS, it'll be it'll be the underpinnings for some other.
Like
if
Linux,
anything.
Linux on embedded devices. It seems like the real thing there.
Yeah, phones and tablets.
Firstly, the Java environment that Android provides has almost nothing in common with a traditional Linux desktop, and a port job to one or the other would have almost no work in common. Also, porting games across operating systems is hard, and developers are understandably hesitant to do so unless they are confident that people will buy it. When the Mac Steam client came out, Valve, by example, encouraged other developers to develop Mac ports, and it paid off. The Humble Bundle has proven repeatedly that the Linux game market is, while currently smaller than the Windows and Mac game markets, certainly worth investing in. I say currently because there are plenty of people for whom video games are the sole reason for sticking with Windows. I suspect that many a boot camp partition was deleted when Steam for Mac was released, and it seems probable that a bunch of NTFS partitions on otherwise Linux boxes may have the same fate in store. If games on Linux are a viable proposal, it could put that platform in a whole new light for a lot of people. Myself, I'm predominantly a Mac user, and I suspect that Valve is doing this at least partly so that they don't have to license Windows for any hardware they may want to sell down the line. They're not altruists, but that does not negate the potential significance of this release. You might be right, and Steam for Linux may fail miserably, but I take issue with your immediate dismissal. Are you willing to put an egg on this?
The only way Steam for Linux is going to be a success is if Valve releases hardware themselves. Mainstream
Whoa,
games.
put an egg on
There's
it?
an egg. I don't care. This
Okay.
is no contest here.
I don't care what the answer is. I just like listening to that guy's voice.
Yeah, the guy's a
he
fantastic
should-
voice. I
he
ran
should
the
do,
question
like,
because
narration for like BBC documentaries or
I
something.
would give him a script of everything we say and just get him to reread our podcast. It's fantastic.
Dramatic readings.
No, and I liked the edit. I liked that he edited in our us saying something dumb.
Yeah, very professional quality question.
Um,
Just
You-
I
you
don't
and
give
Brad.
a fuck about the subject.
So the point of the whole thing is that yes, the Humble Bundle sells very well on Linux for a very, very small audience. The games that are in the Humble Bundle are typically games that are made with like third-party SDKs that make it relatively easy to port the games over. We're never in the foreseeable future. We've done this before. We've done the whole AAA games on Linux, and they sell like 30,000 copies, and everybody involved loses a bunch of money. We're never going to see Skyrim. We're never going to see Batman Arkham City. We're not going to see current first-run release games on Linux. It's a very, very small audience. It makes the Mac audience look huge. And even if you look at the games that are out on Mac Steam versus the games that are out on Windows Steam, it is a very small subset of the available titles outside of some indie stuff. So we were being dismissive. I totally copped to that, but we were right to be dismissive. So sorry.
All right.
Rebuttal to the rebuttal. Last question. One more?
Why not?
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm James Valisis from Harlow in England. A few weeks ago I was fortunate enough to present my iOS game, Armies of Death, to a number of top games industry professionals. Among them was one of my heroes, Peter Molyneux. He actually mentioned I reminded him of Gary Whitta, which was pretty much one of the coolest things to ever happen to me. Now upon meeting Peter Molyneux, it was probably the first time that I would ever say I was properly starstruck. I've never felt more excited to be meeting somebody I admired. As you guys meet inspirational people more regularly than somebody like myself, I was wondering if you too have ever been starstruck, and by whom? Thanks a lot, guys. I love your show.
I'm guessing that was at Molly Jam.
I would assume it was at the Molly Jam. Yeah. We didn't talk about that on the show, but I thought it was a really cool event that Patrick kind of accidentally started, and then it rolled from there. Patrick,
it turned into a global event. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and
Molyneux himself got involved.
They had a bunch of good games come out of it. I think Molyneux wants to be involved with the next time they do it. And
yeah.
I don't know, Gary. You access celebrities much more than we do. Starstruck, yes or no? You're always in a work context, right?
Yeah, I'm at a point where I'm not really allowed to be starstruck anymore, or I'm not allowed to show it because usually when I meet these people now, it's in a professional context, and so you want to remain professional, and like asking for like an autograph or a photo or something seems kind of weird,
or even just being like weird about it.
Yeah,
is
but
weird.
like again, you do kind of become you get used to it, I guess. It's still very. I mean, when I met Kurt Russell, I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
this guy is
Snake
fucking
Plissken.
Snake Plissken and Jack Burton.
Yeah,
but within after 2 minutes of that, and you're just sitting around in his living room,
he's a normal dude.
He's just a normal dude.
Yeah,
and you forget about it. You just get on with it.
Yeah, like the first time I met John Carmack, the first time I sat down and interviewed John Carmack,
yeah,
that was a weird. Like I was like, holy fucking shit! I'm talking to somebody that is not just way smarter than me, but I'm talking to somebody who is fucking rocket scientist on top of making amazing games.
Well, for me, it was the only time I've ever been really starstruck was Alexei Pajitnov.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah,
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but I mean, you move beyond it. Like you have to not let it show because you're there to do a job generally.
Yeah,
I mean that's the way it applies for me.
There are people that I'd still be starstruck to me.
Who would you allow yourself to be starstruck with?
Like someone like Paul McCartney.
Yeah. I can see that.
Where you're like, holy shit, like, where you've achieved a level of fame and your contribution to the world is such that you're immortal now. Like you're going to, people will still be listening to his music in 1,000 years. And that's pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah. The Mozart of our time.
Yeah.
Norm, you go to Comic-Con and you see people at panels and stuff, ask questions and that kind of thing.
That's not really interaction though.
Well, okay, that's true. But I mean, you have interacted with people who are of a celebrity nature. I rode an elevator with Jack Black one time. I wasn't really starstruck then.
Yeah, shared a bathroom with Jonah Hill.
That's weird. You couldn't go in one after the other.
Urinals.
Oh, okay.
Who would you most like to meet?
Oh, that's tough. I think it changes year to year.
Fickle.
You got to be careful as well. Actually, it's dangerous.
Will
to
Smith,
meet
star of Men in Black 3, out May 25th.
Thanks. I get that a lot.
In 3D.
Yeah, in glorious 3D. I got a Pinterest spam from somebody who thought I was Will Smith this morning. That's not happened before.
Huh.
Yeah. You were going to say, Gary, you have
I
to
was
be
just saying,
careful.
sometimes you want to be, it can be weird to meet the people that, if you have a bad interaction with someone that you are a fan of, it can sour your whole perception of that person from then on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing for me is always that, like, I find that when you talk to somebody who's famous or whatever, they're typically like the thing that they appreciate more is just being treated like a normal human being. I mean, for the most part, I'm sure there's some exceptions when you get into people.
Yeah,
who are,
like one of the things that I discovered very early on in my career when I started meeting, famous people
with high Q ratings.
Yeah, is that they don't like to be reminded of it.
Yeah,
like if you make some reference. It's easy to fall into the trap of making some reference to the fact that they're super famous.
Did you realize that you are?
It makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you want to be a normal, like the thing that if you're super famous or super wealthy, same thing. More than anything else, you want to just not. You want to have the benefits of being super famous and super wealthy without all the kind of negative stuff,
right?
Because there's a lot of negative stuff that comes.
I don't think I'd want to meet anyone super famous for like a celebrity because. Like, I'm not going to be their friend. Like, I don't know what the point is. Like, I'd probably be disillusioned. But I do want to meet people who are famous for their craft, experience their craft. Like, for example, I want to have sushi at Jiro's sushi place.
Right.
Not just to meet him, because he is famous for being able to make the world's best sushi. And I want to experience that.
Right.
And they made a movie about him.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess that'll do it for us this week. Stay tuned for Fake Outtakes. Gary Wood and Norman Chan, thanks for coming in. Any plugs? Oh, I got a plug. I'm going to be lantern running tomorrow with the Giant Bomb guys. We're gonna bring it home.
First crossover event.
No, Brad was here last week.
Well, no, but I mean first crossover back in the other direction.
Yeah, the other way. I'm willing to commit to this. I'm not leaving the room until we run the lanterns runs are complete.
All right, that's a.
I don't know if everybody else is on with
You're
this.
going out on a limb there.
Oh, Gina points out that we have a concert tomorrow night late, so probably there will be a cutoff at some point for me if I want to continue being married.
She's very serious about that.
No, that was there was head shaking and everything. I think it's in Oakland too.
Oh my goodness!
I guess that means all right, Bart.
You better all the more incentive to get it done.
Oh yeah, we better not choke. I'm gonna go do some light research, watch some YouTube
Squats.
videos tonight,
Curls.
get my thumbs stretched out, see what we can do.
Now you got to play the right outro music today. That's
Which
appropriate to the conversation.
Which outro music is that?
I'm gonna let you pick and tell you if you're right.
Did we have what?
Just go with your gut.
Good God. Hi there, I didn't see you.
Test it.
I never understood Wally as a cautionary tale. Those fat dudes, I want that.
Test it.
That's acceptable.
That was from the Hogfather. Thanks, Hogfather.
And that's acceptable because we did talk about segways and
That's right, we did.
scooters today.
Scooters.
Yeah. The other one would
Shopping
be,
scooters.
98 beats per minute. That's,
yeah, but
that's pretty high.
But I'm using ones from the audience. That was the Hogfather. Right now, it seems like KLN and the Hogfather are our two most prolific outro makers. And unfortunately, like some of them I have to pick and choose. I only pick good ones. So
they were good.
Yeah, good. Make it snappy. Gary, you went to a somewhat interesting class last night.
I learned a lot about the science of boobs and babies.
Okay,
the science of babies.
The science of babies.
Whoa.
Which is a whole fascinating.
It's like babies
world.
in lab coats.
So what day is it today? It's the
3rd.
It's the 3rd. So our due date is July 4th. So 2 months from now.
2 months in a day.
2 months in a day.
Wow.
Crap. And it's coming down to the wire.
Is it getting real now? Do you feel like this is actually something that's going to happen?
Well, now that I'm actually going to like baby classes and stuff, it makes it feel more real, more imminent.
So can I ask a dumb question?
Better than anyone I know.
Thanks, Gary.
I stole that line from the Golden Girls. I should point out.
Which Golden Girl? Betty White or
Betty White is the
dumb one? Yeah,
that's the setup line. And what's her name? The butch one.
Maud.
Not Maud.
Blanche.
No.
Blanche is the
whore.
You're right.
Whoa.
Let's not make value judgments here.
Well, no,
the
she
tall
is.
One.
That's
You're
the
talking
character.
about the tall one.
She's promiscuous.
I can't remember her name.
You're talking about
drive me mad.
Maud.
No.
She played Maud.
B. Arthur's.
B.
character.
Arthur. Right. I can't remember what her name is.
Thanks for bringing back bad Photoshop memories.
What is your dumb question? Oh, now the name of that character is going to drive me nuts.
Well, Norm has an iPad. He can look it up. Many animals have children the same way that human beings do.
Yes.
But most animals don't have to have a class to learn how to have a baby.
Well,
what do you learn at baby class?
It's very interesting that you should ask that particular dumb question.
The first thing they roll into?
Because part of the class is all about how we should, in fact, be having babies and nurturing them more like animals do.
Okay.
I think
so you're supposed to lick the baby clean and all that stuff?
Very interesting you should say that. One of the top pieces of advice we were given last night at this breastfeeding class was lick your baby.
Really?
Yes.
Does that apply to, can like Norm and I come over and lick your baby, or is this just for you guys?
No. I will tell you why. And this is why
babies taste good?
Animals lick their babies, right?
Okay.
And this is only for the mother to do.
Okay, so you don't get to lick the baby.
I mean, I can if I want.
This is something else that we get screwed out of.
I mean, it's mine, I guess, but there's no reason for me to do it.
Fair trade.
Yeah.
Having the baby.
The reason why you do it is that by licking the baby and ingesting its germs, because babies have all kinds of staph and germs, infections, all kinds of shit over them on them all the time, that the mother licks the baby, ingests those germs, and the milk then customizes itself to deal with those germs. So that when the baby drinks the milk, it's super milk that is customized for that baby's germs and issues.
Oh my God, I might have to put money in the jar to this conversation. You
stumbled right into. You inadvertently stumbled right into the
money in the jar. Say it.
This is This
Say
is
it. Gina wants you to say
no,
it too.
no.
Say it.
I have a running bet that I'm not going to put any money in that damn jar.
Oh, you're going to say did you almost say the
I
C
almost
word?
said the thing I'm not allowed to say anymore. Holy shit!
No, say it.
You have to. She has to lick the
I
baby.
I think you should get a one-time exception.
Don't
for
lick
this.
the baby.
You do.
No exception.
You do lick the baby.
Give in to your. Give in.
Okay. Explain the baby class.
All right, so we had to go to breastfeeding class
Okay.
because and part of the reason why they have
Hold on, is this like a second level class? Is it like a 200 level class, or have you had other classes up until this point?
we've had a couple of classes. This
So
is one
let's
of
start-
the
let's
first.
start
the
at the
classes
beginning.
are kind of starting now.
Okay, so what is the first thing you learn at baby class? Because you already know how to make the baby.
Well, this was
clearly.
a specific breastfeeding class.
Okay,
So and obviously there's not much for me to learn.
so you're just there for support.
I was there for support. There was a lot of couples there.
Okay.
And it was interesting.
Okay.
And they had a live demonstration.
So there were boobs
which I
there.
did not expect.
There were real boobs.
There were live boobs.
Wow.
Usually
Like
you have
an
to
art
pay.
class.
Usually you have to pay a cover for that sort
Yeah,
of
I know. Or have like 3 drinks or something.
Not,
Yeah.
not a lot of single fathers there, right?
thing. No.
Norm's thinking, man, maybe I can go meet some.
There was
some
there
loose
was
women
a-
here.
there
Borrow
was
a baby.
a-
It's called About a Boy.
There was
Yeah.
a lesbian couple though, and it was
Okay.
interesting that they actually have the benefit that they can both breastfeed the baby.
Were they both having babies at the same time, or does it just work
Well,
out?
they have one baby between them.
Can they
Okay.
both
But
lick
they
the
can
babies
both.
too?
They've both got boobs.
Yeah, but I thought there was some biological stuff that had to happen before milk was produced.
No, you will. The other women around babies will start sympathetically, in the presence of all the hormones and oxytocin, will start creating milk.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Fascinating.
Yeah.
What
I'm
else
telling
did
you,
you
this is
learn?
just fucking amazing.
Norm is
shit.
shaking his
Unprepared
head.
for this conversation.
Norm is like freaking out. He was not ready for this
No.
level of science.
Okay, so you learn about the breastfeeding and the licking of the
You
children.
have to lick the baby.
What else
But
do
the
you
whole,
learn?
But just let's dial this back to the beginning.
Okay.
The whole reason why things like breastfeeding classes now exist, apparently,
Yeah.
is because the art of breastfeeding has been lost since the Industrial Revolution and formula and bottles and things came along. The way in which animals and humans traditionally had fed their babies for millions of years went away and was replaced by bottle feeding and artificial methods.
So you're saying because we're so stupid, we have to have classes to learn things that animals just know instinctively.
Yes, we have to basically now have classes to learn the basic skills that the industrialized methods of things that were
So-
for a while we thought, and I'm just kind of parroting what this teacher was explaining, but
Yeah.
she was an
She's kind of a hippie, or
she was
like
like
a
an
normal
obstetric
person?
nurse, and
Okay.
she was very hip. When we walked in, I thought I'd walked into the Portlandia lesbian bookshop.
Okay.
It was very much that
So there are a
vibe.
lot of Tom's shoes and stuff like that in there.
Yeah, it was very cool though.
Okay.
And
Was it like patchouli or anything? Was there incense burning or
no,
like
it wasn't,
dim lighting,
It
or was
wasn't
it
quite to that degree.
was it like at the senior center, or
But it
were
was-
you at
it was
like a
it was at
like
it was
a church?
It was like at a hippy dippy kind of baby supply store.
Okay.
But they also do classes in the back room.
Okay.
And this was a breastfeeding class.
Okay.
And this lady who had been like an obstetric nurse, and had delivered hundreds of babies, and a midwife and a doula, and she knows more about babies.
She got some baby shit
more
going
about
on.
babies than you do, or I do.
no doubt.
no question.
Norm is still shaking his head.
And one of her pieces of advice was lick your baby.
How often? Like every day,
I
or
guess
just
as
like once or
often-
twice
I
at the
guess
beginning?
often as you want.
What's the dosage required to change your body?
Is there a
I don't know.
particular part of the baby you're supposed to lick, or is it just like head and forehead and face?
Lick its face, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so what else? Any other like mind bombs?
So again, I'm just doing the little intro.
Yeah.
here. So formula came along, and for a while, we were conned into thinking that formula is better than
Yeah, Nestle.
mother's milk.
Yeah.
Now we know that's
Patently
absolutely not the
untrue.
case.
That's why there's a big secondary market. A great
Well,
market.
and here's
Black
now
market.
I am gonna blow
mother's
your
milk.
fucking mind with this next part.
Well, hold on. So when we lost the skills of breastfeeding, did they have to send people back out to like unindustrialized countries to study the people that still knew how to breastfeed?
Some of the leading experts in breastfeeding, part of their research is observing like apes in the wild and looking at how they walk around with their babies and how they
Like holding
how they
techniques?
how they hold the baby. The best breastfeeding positions are based on monkeys. And
So like you don't hold the baby up like over your shoulder or anything like that, and kind of
no, there are
get 'em-
different.
get
There
'em
are
down
various.
in
There
a-
are
in a
various
fireman's
positions. There are
carry.
various positions which breastfeeding positions which are considered to be the best ones very closely mimic like the way that a gorilla will hold a baby to the breast.
Okay.
And things like that because they know what they're doing.
all those years watching nature documentaries are finally paying
Yeah,
off.
really fascinating.
Okay.
But here's the amazing stuff, and this is the whole thing about like why even when you see TV ads for like baby formula now, it's that little thing that Bonnet says like breast milk is still the best.
Yeah.
Formula is only what you use if you absolutely cannot get.
Yeah, if your kid's gonna die otherwise.
And she did. I kind of saw this coming. She did. The teacher went on the whole like anti-Nestle rant because Nestle, as many people know, some may not know this. There's a whole boycott. Like the World Health Organization says fuck Nestle for this reason.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this was the reason. It's even worse when you know what actually the reason why it's bad is that Nestle gives free formula away to mothers in the developing nations. But what you mix the formula. It's not just that the formula's not as good. They mix it with the water out there, like in African places where the water is no good, and the babies fucking die because they're drinking this bad water.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's super bad.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you this, and you just were like, "Oh,
no, it's
blah 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 blah
so
blah."
I'm on board with it all now.
Okay.
And so obviously formula is what you do if you just no way you can get natural. If you can't produce your own milk for medical reasons, and you can't get what you're supposed to do next is then get donor milk because a lot of mothers who can produce tons of milk will give away the excess. And if you want to get
sell
that.
it.
Someone else's mother's milk is still again much better than formula.
You can get that from vending machines in Japan.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And there are whole banks and cooperatives that will do this stuff.
Probably seems like a San
Because
Francisco thing.
some mothers are like super lactators, and you never want to throw the milk away. There's always something good for it. And this is what's amazing.
Do those people have to come and lick your baby too?
She went on a whole speech about how mother's milk, colostrum, which is the milk that's initially created in the first few days, and then the milk that comes behind it that you feed the baby for however many years, 2 years, 3 years, how long you want to breastfeed your baby, is the ultimate miracle nature food that exists. It's this unbelievably amazing stuff. Now, like for example, this is the example that she gave, and I'm just telling you, I'm just telling you what she told me.
Yeah.
That if, for example, you give a baby a bottle and it drinks some of the milk, and the backwash, some of the baby's backwash goes back into the bottle and has infectious stuff in it, like staph or whatever bacteria, within minutes it will all be destroyed by the macrophages in the milk.
Oh, right. It's like honey. It's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
So it has this incredibly amazing. Like for example, if you have like a small cut and put some breast milk on it, it'll be gone the next day.
You're gonna really harass Leah a lot with this, aren't you?
Well, it's just incredible.
You produce a miracle fluid.
Yes, it is a miracle fluid.
Okay.
You got pink eye, a little bit there, gone.
Really?
Yep.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
It is like the ultimate Kryptonian superfood.
Okay.
Which makes me wonder why we just don't drink it like from cradle to the
so why do
grave.
we bother with the cows?
Yeah.
Huh.
So anyway, it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And then a lot of it was like how to actually, breastfeeding is not.
It doesn't just work out.
Right. So they had a couple that came in, and she sat in the center of the room and breastfed her baby, and we all watched and showed us how it works.
This seems like a Larry David situation.
I guess it could be.
It seems like LD walks up and starts asking a series. Like, were you allowed to ask questions and stuff?
Yeah, we asked questions. It was
Okay.
all very mature. It wasn't like,
How did you handle this?
I handled it like a mature adult would.
That is fascinating to me.
Why? You don't think I can handle that?
I'm really impressed with you so far. I think that this whole baby thing is, this is a growth step.
Anyway, the point being that Industrial Revolution comes along, formula bottles, and this is how babies are fed now.
Everything's better from machines.
Yeah. And there's a generational culture. Like one of the questions you asked, like how many of you have a memory of like a child of like breastfeeding, or like does it seem like a thing that was in your life? And most people said no, because it's just been gone from our culture for a long time. People of course still do it, but it's been very much diminished by bottles.
Dirty, sinful business you do in the back room.
And I'm trying to remember what some of the other things she was saying that was really interesting. Oh, so like, for example, the reason why the nipple and the areola around it is darker than the skin around it is that when babies are born, they have very, very limited vision. They can only see about a
5
foot in
inches,
front of their
right?
face, and they're very, very blurry. So that when they're initially looking, they can pick out the dark area of the nipple and home in on it.
Interesting.
That's why it's there. Yeah. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah. So it was amazing. I learned, and there's like 50 other things that I want to tell you, but I can't recall right now.
You should have taken better notes.
Amazing.
Did you take notes?
Or
did you just assume Leah's going to remember
We got like
this
a
all?
booklet to take away that basically summarized it all. We watched a couple of videos, and like I said, the live demo was very interesting. And what else was? There was a whole thing about like right after you give birth. This is another thing that's changed. Is like typically when nowadays in hospital births, in modern births, when the baby is born, the first thing they will do is like cut the cord and take it away to be weighed and wrapped up and cleaned and stuff. Whereas what the hippy dippy natural birth people will tell you, and this is the way it's supposed to be, is that as soon as the baby is born, the very first thing that you should do is put it on the mother for that skin-to-skin contact, and it should stay there for like an hour. And there's all kinds of like pheromone and hormonal bonding and connections and things that happen in that initial period that you don't want to compromise. There's all kinds of, just very deep hormonal bonding type connection things that you want to ensure happen between the mother and the baby.
Gesticulation for the,
Right.
for the hippie.
Just, the drum circle.
It was. I went in that. As you know, I'm a little bit skeptical about hippie granola, new age type stuff.
Yeah.
But it made a lot of sense from a scientific perspective.
I think Chloe needs to go out.
Okay.
Hey, Gina.
Away from this conversation.
Gina.
Oh no.
Gina, the dog needs to go out.
Hey Gary, tell me about your Asian delicacy experience.
Hold on. Are we done? Hold on. I want
Is
to
this
find out.
actually making you uncomfortable?
Norm is very nervous.
What is it? What,
No,
is
I'm
it
not
like?
nervous.
Miracle of life. Yeah. Anytime Norm says no, I'm not nervous, and shakes his head to the right, that always means nervous as hell.
It's left.
Oh well. Okay.
Would you freak out if you were like in a mall, like at a cafeteria, like and the woman started at a table next to you started breastfeeding?
No, I don't think that you should don't give warning. I mean,
So if that what? So
What, you all of a
she's gonna
sudden,
say-
attention, attention, internet viewers. I don't have a problem with it.
no.
Yeah.
no.
Why
I
would
always
you?
think it's weird.
I've
No
never seen it
mature
happen,
adult
though.
should have a problem
Right.
with it. It's the most natural thing in the world. It is literally the most natural thing in the world, apart from maybe shitting.
Pooping. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
poops.
I'd be more comfortable with that than someone peeing in a Mountain Dew bottle.
Yeah, but I did that in private. I wouldn't expect that to be.
Well, you were in the
okay.
cab of your car. Your windows really heavily tinted or
I
anything?
wouldn't. I wouldn't do that at like in like a shopping mall
Yeah.
food court and be like, "What's your fucking problem?" If someone was like looking at me as I'm pissing into a bottle,
That's
it's the most natural thing in the world. What's the matter
Everybody
with you?
pisses. Euromycetitis.
You're so uptight, man.
It sort of knocked on your window as that was happening. That
Do you
would've been the
stop?
most awkward.
Does that,
No,
like,
I
punch?
had a good recce first to make sure that I wasn't going to get busted.
You don't want to induce an exposure outside Pixar on your record. That would be real bad.
Oh, I actually just remembered one that was worse than that, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Oh, no.
Let's take that offline. Anything else from the baby classes? Any other horrors of science?
There
and
weren't any
learning?
horrors. It was all fascinating.
That's
good. And it was very, very
You
interesting.
seem very serene now. It's just because you had a late lunch breakfast.
It plays and it changes things. It changes the way you look at the world. It's really amazing.
Cool. Hey, Norm.
Mm-hmm.
You had something you wanted to talk about.
No, I wanted Gary to
Gary's
talk about
Asian
his
delicacies.
delicacy.
Oh, so I was kind of connected. So coming back from the baby class ran late.
Okay.
And by the time we got back, it was at 10 p.m. cutoff. We hadn't eaten, so we were starving. Wanted to get grab some KFC or something on the way home. But it's 10 o'clock, everything's closing. It's kind of stupid how a lot of the chain places don't go later than 10.
Taco Bell's open until midnight. Fourth meal.
This one wasn't.
Oh.
Couldn't find a drive-through, so we ended up finding one of these. It was like one of those like boba tea type places.
Oh, God,
Okay.
Yeah.
But they also had
Snacks.
regular food, and they had curry fish balls.
Yeah.
99 cents a skewer. And I'd
was
never.
it a Quickley's?
It wasn't a Quickly's. It was called something tea. It was right next, but it was right next door to the. It was right next door to the Quickly.
I bet it was-
Okay.
I bet it was an
Leah
Irving.
got a slice of pizza from the Quickly, and I went to the place next door.
You get pizza at a boba tea place?
Well, it was just it was one of those.
Sometimes
places.
you.
But yes, you
Just
can
what you want.
buy.
It's like formula. You
Fish
got to eat to
balls.
live.
And they were like in a deep fryer, and she skewered three of these little balls
Oh, I
into
like
a
fish
stick.
balls.
99 cents each, and I bought two because I didn't want too much. It was late, and they were really tasty.
They are.
My new thing, curry
Yeah.
fish balls.
Fish balls in general.
Oh, they
fish
really
meat.
really hit the spot.
Yeah.
Bad-
They're like fish sticks, but in ball
And
form.
it's right in my
Well, no, it's
neighborhood
not like
too.
fish sticks, but it's not actually
They're not
like-
breaded.
No, but the fish isn't like the texture isn't like a fish stick or a fillet of fish. It's like a meatball, but fish meat.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's ground.
And it's right across the street. It's right in my neighborhood, like where my post office is, where my bank is, where my favorite donut place is. It's added a new facet to this area.
I like that.
So now whenever I'm a little peckish, I'll go get some curry fish balls. So she took them out of the fryer, and I remember looking at them going, this is either going to be the worst thing ever or my new favorite thing. And happily, it was my new favorite thing.
Well, who doesn't like fried fish? As a purveyor of the fillet of fish, I would assume that fish balls would be right up your
You
alley.
can have like fish patties too, like that. They're really good.
Yeah, I'm sure I would. I love fish cake like that you get in Thai restaurants.
Yeah.
We
fish
get
cakes.
the fish sausages sometimes, like the salmon sausages they have in the fancy sausage section in Whole Foods or Lenardi's or something.
Yeah.
And those are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
On with some.
I'm usually
arugula.
a little bit afraid of those kind of boba tea things because like you order something off the menu, but when you actually get it,
Yeah.
like what the fuck is
You
this?
can get squid there.
Yeah.
And cuttlefish.
Oh my god, I forgot to talk about it. But I tried spherification last week.
Okay.
I bought all the stuff to do it, the sodium alginate and all that stuff. And I was going to try to make coffee spheres to go on top of vanilla ice cream, thinking I would have like a little affogato type thing, right?
Freeze your coffee.
No. Sphere of the coffee and put it on the vanilla ice cream. So I did a lot of reading, and there's not a whole lot of recipes and stuff. You know, did we talk about spherification with you, Gary?
I don't remember.
So it's where you take a liquid and you make a thin like gel shell around it to make it like fake caviar, like they have at fancy restaurants now.
Okay.
Most people do it with like olive oil or
an olive.
Yeah, they make it olive oil that looks like an olive, or they'll make I'm completely blanking on stuff here, but miso soup into little balls that go on top of something that's
Fruit,
whatever.
Caviar.
Puree, fake caviar.
Yeah.
So I made them and they looked right, but they didn't taste very good. I think I fucked something up along the way. But it's really weird because you dripper the liquid out into the bath with the. So the way it works is you take the sodium alginate stuff, which basically when exposed to liquid that has calcium in it makes a gel from the outside in when you hit the calcium on it. And then you put the sodium alginate in the liquid you want to make the spheres of, and then you dripper that into a bath that has calcium chloride, which is just calcium salt, basically. Nothing bad. So the calcium sets up the gel, and then you scoop it out with a little slotted spoon or a sieve or something like that, and rinse them off and dump them on your food. But they tasted weird.
Well, what's the point of having spherical food balls? I don't.
So when you put them in your mouth, then they kind of explode, and you get this. Initially, you taste nothing, and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's weird," and then they pop kind of like I'm trying to think, like it was like some sort of Sour Patch Candy or something like that.
I just want more curry fish balls. I
Exploding
might have to stop off at that place on the way home.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Where is this again? This is at like 9th and Irving.
It's down on Irving, yeah. It's kind of in my neighborhood, and there's a whole bunch of those kind of little Asian tea places. And
I like late open places. My go-to for late night food is the Korean barbecue place over on Geary, the one with the ladies that wear nice clothes, and it's open till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I think we should go get food.
Okay,
or just get food.
All right, whatever. Yeah, I mean, all this happens every time, right? We talk about food and we get hungry.
Yeah. Okay, well, good show, guys.
Very good.
Talk to you all later.
Well done.
See you next week. Well, we'll be back next Thursday with another episode of This
Oh,
Is
I
Only a
remembered
Test.
something else about babies, but I'll tell you next time.
No, tell us now. Go. Do it.
No.
Norm can't take Norm can't take any more of the baby talk.
I don't get it. You say doesn't make you
I'm
uncomfortable.
hungry.
No, it makes him super
You've been
uncomfortable.
squirming the whole
I
time.
know that if you start, it will be another 10 minutes, 15
His voice
minutes.
went up and cracked when he said, "No, it doesn't make me
All
uncomfortable."
this talk of nipples and
areola.
I must admit, when they started talking about like one of the common problems with breastfeeding apparently is sore nipples.
Yeah.
And you can have like yeast start growing out of your nipples and things.
Oh, that sounds
if
horrible.
the baby doesn't latch on the right way, you
Yeah.
can have nipple problems. And I'm getting like sympathetic
Nipple pain
issues.
Well,
yeah.
what's funny to me is the whole time you're talking about it, you're hand gesturing right in the nipple area, right? So your hands are all like right here, and you keep pointing, and it's funny.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of talk about like, hand expressing.
What? Oh, you mean like milking?
So you can use a pump,
Yeah.
obviously, but you can also just like, squeeze your. She
Really?
showed a technique where you can
Like an
squeeze
udder?
your breast. Yeah, to make the basically
Fascinating.
you can milk yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you milk a cat? Okay.
Yes, you can milk anything with nipples.
You can milk anything with
Robert De
nipples.
Niro.
Very good. See you guys later. Thanks for listening. Bye. Video's still live. Bye, guys. Bye, video people. I missed the click. Still bye, video people.